Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's that time to bring forth the rhythm and the line. The rhythm and the line. Aw, yeah. Feel it, baby. Come on, come on, come on. It's got your good vibration. Feel it, feel it. It's got your sweet sensation. Come on, come on, come on. Marky Mark, the forgotten wigger. What's up? I'm your boy. Yay Dyer, what's up? Welcome everybody. It's open forum. As you know, let's get into it before everybody has a chance to think. Then we can mind wipe them. We can mind zap them. I got a little bit of plane drama to tell y'all about. Y'all want to be flying around, but you're not paying attention to the sisters and the queens in your vicinity who are owed respect. Put some respect on that name. Jamie, put some respect on that name. I'm talking about when you in a plane and you see a queen, you best bow down, son.
That's what y'all teach in your house, but black people don't teach that hate in our house.
Hell no.
You need to understand that. Yeah, we don't teach hate in our house.
We don't teach no hate.
Y'all teach hate in y'all house. Y'all narcissists. But you ain't gonna play.
Y'all are
that
narcissists.
shit. Yes, because I'm not a slave. I never came from Africa. I'm an indigenous person to this country. You shut up. Let me tell you what your mama taught you. Let me tell you the truth. I'm the queen of this motherfucker. You
Let her cook. Let her cook.
You came from my color. Black make every
She
color.
crooking. Let her cook right now.
You understand me? Black make every. Your people are going extinct. And that's why you're mad. You can't procreate.
You was born extinct. Put some respect on that name. This sister right here done decoded every mystery on the house. She done decoded every hieroglyphic. Okay, that's that ancient Wakandan script. Okay.
That's what eugenics was about. That's what eugenics, the Darwin theory, because y'all know the truth.
This sister done seen every TikTok about Sydney Sweeney and them jeans, okay? Them jeans was invented by a communist dictatorship to put you into a worker suit because white people had to put black people into jeans because white people jeans is defectives, okay? And they is born decrepit. They born without the ability to reproduce, okay? That's what them eugenics is about. It's in the name, eugenics. Sydney Sweeney got them jeans, girl. Everybody want to be black. Don't nobody want to be black except Beyonce want to be white because she changing her skin.
I've been waiting to say this.
Woo! Cook, girl. Finally, my people are speaking up. People speaking my language, speaking my script. Okay? And I am an honorary black person. We've had 11 black people give me N-word pass. I've been identifying as black at least for how many years now? Many.
I've been waiting to say this all my life.
Woo! Cook, girl. Cook on it.
You're mad because only black people have the genes to procreate.
She wearing the jean skirt too at the same time. Y'all notice that? That's coded. That right there is coded. Okay, and that white woman right there, she don't know what to do. That's just coded. Y'all know how to decode?
And y'all know the truth. You come from me. A black person can make any color in Africa white with blue eyes.
Woo! Now, some of y'all wanted to make fun of me for identifying as black. This little princess sister queen right here, she done confirmed it, ain't she? She done confirmed it right there. You made fun of me. J-Dog thinks he's black. She just said black people make all the colors. I came from her. That's my mom's, dude. That's my mom's right there.
And blonde hair, just like you, have a twin. One my color and one your color. It's called Esau and Jacob. You be quiet.
Esau and Jacob, Edomites. Black Hebrew Israelite, Black Hebrew Israelite. Just make it up as you go. It don't even matter, girl. It's telling a story, okay? It's telling a story. And this ain't the only truth drop knowledge bomb I got for your ass today. you better sit your little ass down. Put them EBT card back in the drawer, because you ain't ready for it right now. You ain't ready for it. I'm about to drop. A lot of y'all trying to want to become a Black Hebrew Israelite. I got bad news for you in a moment. We gonna speak to some of them brothers that got wisdom.
You'll never. You can take me to jail. You're mad. Go ahead. Now let me let my people know on this motherfucker. Esau and Jacob, you mad?
I like how my brothers and sisters in the plane are letting her preach. They're like, woo, preach, girl. Get on it. Tell it, cook. Everybody else in the airplane. Remember that you want to know what airplane that was? Soul Plane. Everybody forgot that Snoop movie. Remember Soul Plane? This is what it was like getting on it right here. Right, this is right here. Woo, that's Soul Plane. I'm not talking about Soul Train. I'm talking about Soul Plane. Let's get on that right there. Look at that right there. Woo, get on that Soul Plane right there. Made that shit bump. Look at that. Got Kevin Hart in it. Got Snoop Dogg in it. Got them other sisters I ain't never heard of and I never seen before. Shit.
Because the promise is coming to my people. And you think we stole the birthright? But it's
Cook, girl. Remember when Cain had done took Esau's birthright? Mm-hmm. And then the Judahites had done come and take the Nephilites and taking all of their hair, taking their weaves. The Nephilites done took the weave of all of the Judahites. And it was a big old story in the book of Samson in the Bibles. Okay. Then the people had to rise up. They had to rise up and throw it off that oppression. Okay, that's what I'm talking about right now. I'm preaching right now. And ain't none of y'all leaving right now. Close them doors. Close the doors. Because ain't none of y'all coming out here till I get $40,000 in super chats today. That's all I'm trying to say. That's it. That's all. Now, a lot of white people are turning to the racisms. It's time to call a stop to that. It's time to call it out. I am bold enough to do it. A lot of people too scared to do it. But I'm going to sing with this white man, with this Judahite right here, this little Edomite Judahite who tried to steal all the weaves back in the book of Samson. I got a little song for y'all right now. Listen. I want y'all to sing with me now. It's a church service right up in here.
Racism.
In the racisms.
Send me happy, burn them down. King Selassie, I already drowned.
King Selassie.
Guide all the youths them now. Come on, everyone, racism. Burn it down, happy,
burn it down, the racisms. Burn it down. I don't know why. I don't know how we got to Axl Rose in that, but welcome everybody. It's open forum. We're just having fun, kicking it off with a little bit of church to get y'all ready for today. Did y'all enjoy church? We had a Sister LaQuancha getting on the soul plane, giving us a little bit of word of encouragements. But now we about to open it up. I don't know what y'all people got on your minds today. But listen. Oh, I forgot. We got to check in just one little thing. Can I become a Black Hebrew Israelite? That's what I want to know. Number one question today. Number one question today. Hold on. Some of you white people, you think perhaps I could also be in the tribe. I could also become a Judahite. Let's find out. Let's find out right here.
Black people hate you.
You're not an Israelite.
I just disagree.
You're an Irish Edomite.
I'm definitely not an Edomite.
Definitely are Edomite.
I'm definitely not an Edomite. No, I'm an Irish man. I'm an Israelite.
Okay. All right. Well, you can be whatever you want to be in your mind. In your mind, you can be whatever you want to be, but in reality, you're not.
I'm excited to be out here with you guys tonight. I'm very excited. I've been pumped on this for a while.
Wow.
That's Jermaine Dupri right there. That's Jermaine Dupri. Don't come a Black Hebrew Israelite. That's Jermaine Dupri. If you ain't never seen him, you said, what Jermaine Dupri been up to for the last minute? Well, it been a minute, but he been over there with the like Hebrew Israelites up down in Atlanta right there. And when an Irish man who's cannot become a Judahite, when he come up in there trying to front, you ain't a part of this party, son. My people is on the come up. Your people is on the depression road, aka Skid Row. Holla if you hear me. Holla if you hear me. Gay. All right. We popping today. It's popping, baby. We even got Fat Smug Wilson. Did y'all know Smug Wilson, Christian nationalist, fatty pastor, the new version, the new instantiation of Jerry Falwell? Smug Wilson, he got a rock and roll song. Y'all ever heard of it? What could a boomer come up with to blow my mind when it came to rock and roll? It's exactly what you would think. Folk, bluegrass, Calvinist bullcrap. That's what you would get. That's what you think, and that's what you get. You didn't know Doug Wilson had musics? This is Doug Wilson in the Jenny Geddes band. About to blow your mind right here. Now, did you hear that? They was referencing Jacob and the Judahites out of the Old Testament with Cain and Joseph. Also, Abel and Leviticus. Okay, Leviticus was the cousin of Moses Claus. Okay, that's where the white people done got Santa Claus from. If you look at a picture of Moses, right next to a picture of Santa Claus, that's the white version of Moses Claus. First 5 books of the Bibles, okay? And then Doug Wilson referencing that. He said, we is the real Jacobites. Okay? This is white supremacist coded right here. Wilson's mind as he's singing the song. He's dreaming about the guy who's forming a giant pastry on the clay thing for him after lunch. Is that Is that how I'm supposed to interpret this video? It's coded. I'm trying to decode it right here. And why are they out in the field with... If you're going to be in the field, maybe don't put in your shot the piece of shit family sedan Subaru over there. Like, put the field in the background and not the giant Vance refrigeration van ad right behind you. Oh, the Lord is God and you are not. Let these boomers cook now. Let these boomers cook. You just got put in your place, you arrogant works righteousness man. You thought you could be saved by your works. Maybe you need to take a trip to Home Depot with Doug Wilson and be humbled, son. Anyway, and what the heck is with this weirdo with the earring? Is this a member of Doug's church? So are they having like Secret Service fantasies at Doug's church? Like, they're like, what would be a cool look? Oh, I know, Secret Service agents or Blues Brothers. I think they're trying to go with Blues Brothers, right? Because it's like folk blues, I guess, and they're just singing Romans 9. Oh, yes, let's bring in our boomer wives. Yeah, here we go. Oh, look at that. God is like a Louisville slugger who just destroys his creations as he so wills, because Calvinism, dog. This is so cringe, dude. Is that Doug Wilson's wife? Is he married to a grandma? I mean, that sounds like Calvinism. And who the fuck is this boomer, dude, with this wannabe Secret Service boomer with this shitty tie, by the way? They're like, let's do Secret Service agents, but let's have peppermint striped ties. I don't. Doug Wilson's like, my beloved grandmother wife, would you please be in my music video? Just sing in the background. That's all you got to do. Just sing in the background. Just like so eager to let loose their pent up Calvinist rage by doing this stupid little bat scene with the mass produced china pots made out of who knows what from Home Depot. You know, this is going to be such a powerful visual symbolic statement when we hit these clay pots with a Louisville slugger. Anyway, and then he's still going. He's like, no. He's like, you guys thought we were done? I've got 5 more clay pots that I'm going to throw at you that you get to smash. And then Secret Service boomer is over. Look at this. You know their rage is coming out. Oh, yeah. And then they were like, what if they turned the little switch to make it electric. They went from blues folk to electric. It got edgy. Did y'all hear and see the edge?
Is that really him?
Yeah, of course it is. Y'all didn't know Smug Wilson? Look, I thumbed down this like 5 years ago. It's still got my thumbs down from like 5 years ago. Anyway. Yeah, Doug Wilson is a fat piece of crap if you didn't know. somebody said, Basic Expert said for $5, is Doug playing the wrong note? Because if he is, it's actually the wrong note. It's actually the right note because he was predestined to play it. Boom. Exactly. Yeah, doesn't this make you want to be a Calvinist, hanging out with gigantic fat gut boomers in a field with advanced refrigeration? Look at that. Did they think this was this the ad for, like, this guy who's in the band? I guarantee it's the drummer, right? And he's like, I've always wanted to be in a rock and roll video, but hey, Doug, could we put my fork refrigeration van in the background to be like advertising? I'll pay $500 for the clay pots in the video if you put my van in the background. Fork refrigeration? Fork refrigeration. Is the guy's name Fork? I guess eating utensils is an appropriate name for people at Doug Wilson's church because, I mean, Doug Wilson looks like he's about to give birth. I mean, look at that. Whoa, dude. More like double Wilson. Look at that. Damn, dude. Doug Wilson is the size of a refrigerator. Man, look at that guy. He could play John Goodman before John Goodman was skinny. Anyway, doesn't that make you want to be a Calvinist? There you go. Oh my gosh. You know, the exterior of a person oftentimes does indicate the interior of the person. This is something that a lot of people don't think about. Not in every case. It is possible to be a loving, humble person if you're overweight, if you're disfigured. But in a lot of cases, it's not actually the truth. In fact, physiognomy is a really good indicator of character. Why is that? Well, in the case of very portly individuals, this signifies a gluttonous tendency. I understand that some people can have, thyroid issues or whatever. But that's not always the case, and it's a sign of a lack of self-control. Now, this is something that is a little more relevant and interesting than this ridiculous, crappy music video from Doug Wilson. But there's a guy who wrote an article who was in the CREC, which is Doug Wilson's made-up denomination. So he just basically created his own denomination, which is a traditional Reformed Catholic church that can kind of be whatever you want it to be. So if you want to practice paedo-communion, you can. If you want to be a Baptist and not baptize your infants and not practice paedo-communion, you can. If you want to wear collars and LARP as an Anglican or a Catholic priest in the CREC, you can. Or you can dress like Billy Bob Baptist. It doesn't matter. It's a ridiculous, obvious, made-up boomer thing. But that's the Doug Wilson invented denomination, of which Doug Wilson is the pope of the denomination. Now, there's a lot of scandals and a lot of drama over the years. You can find these articles where people have called out and complained about Doug Wilson over the last 2 decades, 3 decades, back to the early 2000s. But for whatever reason, Doug is getting a little more traction because, unfortunately, Tucker had Doug Wilson on. Tucker had Smug Wilson on, which was a huge mistake because to prop up and push this idiot is just going to end up being for the worse. Now, the main issues I would have assumed from not kind of keeping up with Doug Wilson in the last several years was, well, he's a Calvinist, and so he's going to have the standard sort of Calvinist airs. Apparently, according to Jeff Moss, who's a former CREC pastor converted to Orthodoxy a few years ago, Jeff sent me an essay that he wrote detailing and outlining some of the actual anti-Trinitarian made-up positions that Doug Wilson has, which I didn't know. This is kind of crazy. Apparently, he and I don't even know if Doug Wilson knows what he means when he writes these things, but I was reading some of the paragraphs and the quotes in Jeff's article. Apparently, Doug Wilson thinks that the Father, okay, you're going to think, well, this sounds like monarchical Trinitarianism. It's not. The first thing I thought when I heard this, well, that sounds like the Orthodox view of monarchical Trinitarianism. And no. Doug Wilson thinks that the Father is authority. And the Son is obedience. You heard me right. The Father as the subject, the cause, the fount, etc., the divine subject, the Father, according to Doug Wilson, is authority. The Son is obedience. Like, in an identity sense. What? I mean, I don't know I've never even heard of this. So, apparently, I don't know if Doug Wilson heard people talking about monarchical Trinitarianism and then utilized that to put it into his patriarchal Calvinist mold. And so he thought he could capitalize on the idea of the Father as the fount and the monarchia of the triad and turn it into some sort of authority subjection role, is what it sounds like. But that is not what those words mean. Okay, yeah, the Father is, in a sense, the authority. He is the source. But the Father as a person or a hypostasis is not authority. It's bizarre. The Son is not, as a hypostasis, obedience. It's weird. And according to Jeff, but I've not looked into all of these positions. Again, I haven't even thought about this dude until he popped up on Tucker, and then I think he's on CNN more recently for Christian nationalism, which we talked about a little bit here and there. I do want to comment on that here in a sec. Let's see if we can find what Doug Wilson is talking about on CNN. I'm not going to watch a whole interview, but 30 minutes. Now, keep in mind, nobody really watches CNN except like the lowest IQ liberal boomers. That's it. Like, you got to be like really dumb to be watching, CNN, totally out of touch. So I would assume this is intended to provoke the 90 IQ boomer left that watches. And so what they do is they tailor this to rage bait their audience as if Doug Wilson is this massively influential, powerful force out there. My channel is bigger than Doug Wilson's channel. I mean, unless he's blown up since the Tucker discussion. I think my channel is still bigger than Doug Wilson. So let's see. I think they have a couple. They have Blog and Mablog and Canon Press. So let's see. So my channel is like almost 4 times bigger than Blog and Mablog. And let's see what Canon Press is at. And I'm only pointing this out because like this shows you that, I mean, this is not, Canon Press is 117,000. So between the two, they don't even have the audience that we have over here. But he's being pushed by now these sort of mainstream and alternative outlets. I don't know why. Perhaps because people sort of look to this guy. And when this goofy Navy SEAL guy who is so intelligent that he's debunked Bitcoin for many years. Yeah, exactly. This genius Navy SEAL who understands everything from special operations to deep theological issues, who shares the gospel with Joe Rogan, debunked Bitcoin and lost out on quite a bit of money because he's so smart. Well, Doug Wilson's been commenting on this and talking about how this amazing veteran shared the gospel with Joe Rogan. So perhaps we must call out Smug Wilson because he's now, quote, going viral. And even Ruslan is over here covering it, but like, where is the going viral part? Because, I mean, I'm not saying he's not. I'm just trying to figure out, like, where is the viral part? because this has 27,000 views on CNN. That's pitiful, dude. So I'm not sure where the viral part is, but maybe there is some area where he's going viral. I don't know.
What makes this community here in Moscow so unique?
Oh, the other thing that CNN wanted to do, I forgot to mention, is that they want to portray this as like Doug Wilson is what Handmaid's Tale is warning about, right? So Doug Wilson's going to cause J.D. Vance to run next election and create a Christian nationalist in concentration camp America, where we're all going to be put into camps, except for me because I'm a man. I'll be good. But all the women are going to be in camps and be forced to be breeders and all this stuff. Remember, all the global elite have written thousands of pages for the last 60, 70, 80, 100 years about depopulation. But no, the real threat is that they're going to make women into breeders when the Christian nationalists take over. Christian nationalism is not a real threat. I do not believe that these people are good people. These people are total scumbags. And I'm sure within this domain of the online Christian nationalist sphere, I'm sure there's feds in there. I am not agreeing with James Lindsay, right, with the woke right and everyone's a fed and you're all feds if you don't believe in enlightenment atheism and the Freemasonic founding of America, you must be a woke right fed. I mean, that's as ridiculous as these people. But one thing that I do know from reading and studying this domain for many, many years, alternative media as well as espionage and COINTELPRO and all these kinds of things, the first people that start calling everybody feds, they're usually the feds. Now, not always, because now we're in this situation where everybody's calling everybody a fed. So it's like, now we don't know, because who's even first? I mean, everybody's been calling everybody a fed now for a long time. And it's hard to say like exactly who it is and isn't a fed. And I remember back at the time of Seville, and I was telling everybody I wouldn't waste my time going to Seville. And I was completely right, because everybody that went to Seville, many of them people had their lives ruined. So, it's the oldest trick in the book that what the establishment does is co-opt, choose, pick, infiltrate, turn people into assets. Classic example of this was when Hal Turner, the famous white radio host, it came out that he was a Fed. And he had been for many, many years, for example, attacking Lord Voldemort. And Lord Voldemort for many, many years said that guy's got to be a Fed, because he's allowed to say the craziest, wildest stuff. He doesn't get in any trouble. And it's like way beyond the pale, right? I'm not saying that anybody who says one inflammatory or wild thing, you're automatically Fed. That not necessarily. But like, if you're able to consistently call for violence and this kind of stuff, and you don't get in any trouble on a regular basis. For example, we saw not just Hal Turner back in the day doing that. We saw that weird black dude that ran, remember 10 years ago, the new Black Panther Party. Remember that guy? And he was like, all these white women, when they lay down on their back and when they give birth, they are giving birth to a regiment of soldiers that will kill black people. Remember that? And then there was that other black dude that wore the glasses and was calling for like regiments of brothers. It's like, if you're able to do this on a consistent basis and you don't end up in jail, you might be a Fed. Right? I'm going to turn it into Jeff Fedworthy over here. If you're able to call for violence on a regular basis and you don't get in trouble, you might be a Fed. Right? Jeff Fedworthy. Jacob Cabay. Clay pot cooler than an office space. Copy machines. I think you're talking about Doug Wilson's amazing rock and roll video. Christopher Scott, $5. What's up, man? Thank you so much. Contemporary Committee, $5. Father Dick Ananias should join Doug Wilson's band with his ukulele. He was just in here. Oh, he missed that great joke. So, yeah. FDA, I think, does play music in bluegrass. And then he just missed that joke. He was just in here. Oh, well. And then see now now everybody thinks every influencer and yapping head, or what was Jamie said they're called, face lords. All the face lords now, right? Everyone's a Fed now. Hassan Piker, right? The chat saying is Hassan a Fed? No, iDubbbz is a Fed. Oh, Sam Hyde's a Fed. Oh, J. Doc. No, I'm KGB. We all know that I'm not a Fed, dude. I'm KGB, bro. I'm a KGB sorceress. Not a sorcerer, sorceress. Hence, Ediva. Tucker's a Fed. Candace is a Fed. Lord Voldemort's a Fed. Nick's a Fed. Jay's a Fed. Everyone's a Fed. I got an idea. What if everybody applies to the FBI and the CIA and we all become Feds and then nobody's a Fed? Boom, we just beat the system, dude, from the inside out. You ever thought of that? KGB, baby. Contemporary Compendium said FDA should join Doug Wilson for his little ukulele thing. For a bit chin solo. What is bit chin? Is that the Doug Wilson triple chin band? Doug Wilson and the Triple Chins. That's the name of his. that's the name of his Calvinist bluegrass band. Dude, everyone's a Fed. Sam Shamoon, oh, totally a Fed. Everybody's a Fed. The question is who's not, right? We got to figure out who's not a Fed now. Everybody's a Fed. Literally everyone is a Fed now. And it's kind of hard to prove that too. You know what I mean? Like you can suspect, oh, he might be because this didn't happen or this happened and this didn't happen. And then it's like, well, if that is enough, then everyone's a Fed. Now, Fuentes did state today, which is an interesting point, that, or was he? I don't remember if it was yesterday or today, but the letter that was it Fannie Willis wrote at the direction of Bill Barr, CIA Bill Barr, was that there's a list of people that need to be targeted, and the last three were Lord Voldemort, I forget who the other one was, and then the last one was Nick. So, that is an interesting piece of data that has come forward. But, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Inquire longer, $2. Do Eastern Catholics have sacraments since they have same theology? Well, they don't exactly have the same theology. So in other words, just because you affirm the essence, energy, distinction, or something like that, it doesn't matter if you're also in communion with this gigantic antichrist system. Right? So, and technically, they also affirm papal supremacy, Vatican I, and all those things. Father Deacon Ananias, you missed. People are saying that you should join Doug Wilson's bluegrass Calvinist edgelord band, boomer edgelord band, because you have a, quote, little ukulele. I don't know what that reference is. I mean, that's what they said, not me. So, quote, references to your little ukulele. That's what the super chatters are saying, not me. So, but maybe there is a future for Calvinist rock.
He's got a Calvinist bluegrass band?
Yeah, you didn't hear me playing the clip?
No, I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
You're expected to be here on time for every stream.
Yeah, exactly. That stinks, man.
Why, you didn't get in it? You didn't get in the band quick enough? You didn't make the cut? I wasn't
part of the elect.
You weren't a lick. That's good.
Shoot, man. Well, that dirties up bluegrass. Well, we're just going to be like, well, we don't like your kind of bluegrass plays here.
Well, Doug Wilson is going to institute is a Calvinist Islamic dictatorship where women lose all their rights because this CNN interview has 27,000 views. Like, I get more views on some of my live streams than this. So,
isn't he in Idaho?
He is.
Isn't his address? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. He's in Idaho. And in fact, I remember talking to Father George Aquaro that people at his parish are becoming interested in Orthodoxy, probably because they're seeing the failure of Doug Wilson. So
right.
Let's pray for that.
Well, actually, the Doug Wilson domain has for 20 years now, after the Federal Vision Conference, it has been a pretty consistent conduit to people converting to Orthodoxy. I know tons of people who became Orthodox out of the Doug Wilson sphere.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, as I said, was that back in 2002 and 3, James Jordan, Doug Wilson, and Peter Leithart started reading Alexander Schmemann. And they found a lot of Schmemann's arguments for Eucharist and for Paedo Communion very appealing and convincing. But, hey, why convert to Orthodoxy when you can create your own made-up church?
Yeah, you just pick and choose and build your own. Now, I think, the last time you were doing an X Space, something really interesting, we were talking about, or you were talking about, when I was inside your head, talking to you to talk to the people after we did the FDA NeuroFitbit, installed into your head, that these people would come out of cults. And then, do you remember we'd had a lot of people that called in who had come out of cults, and you found that really interesting. And then this went into kind of a deep dive discussion that you were giving about Campus Crusade. And it's interesting because, the EOC was part of Campus Crusade.
Yeah, that's what we covered in that last live stream. That Watchman Nee was closely associated with Campus Crusade, as was the Evangelical Orthodox Church, which is essentially what Doug Wilson's doing now, but back in the 1970s. Yes.
Now, keep in mind, not all of that group became Orthodox.
Right.
And it seemed to me that they were doing something very similar. Is that they were like, well, we like this, and we'll just build this and tack this on and have our own. And who knows, the EOC at large might have had that kind of mentality. I think that, Father Peter Gilchrist and the Bronze and all the kind of people that were involved in that, I think they kind of came to their senses and realized we can't do this. We've got to be under authority. And that, caused a break.
Right.
But, this is what happened up here in Montana as well. I'm not saying it's a cult, but the Scots, if you remember, the mega church here in over in Missoula, Montana. It's like 2,000 people, and this became like all the news last year. Like, oh my gosh, Scott's talking about like Orthodoxy, and like we're gonna 2,000. It's gonna be like an EOC, and well. They were doing the same thing. Now, Scott left that. He stepped down, and we made him, Father Andrew and I, and Father Russell made it a catechumen. So, like, he's in. He's no longer associated with that church. But basically what happened is the rest of the people were like, well, we like all these things. And we'll build this, but that other 25% we don't want. It's such a Protestant mentality.
Yeah, it's a totally Protestant mentality. I'll pick and choose what I want, how I want to make the church, and so everybody's talking about Ridvan, AP. I mean, I don't know what to say, because I tried to explain to him, to David Wood, to everybody that I mean, all you can do is continue to try to reason with people. And if they want to go on a crusade for Zionism, I mean, what do you do? What am I supposed to? There's nothing I can do. So, I mean, what I typically do when, and I think FDA would agree with this approach too, is, when you meet people, nowadays we a lot of times meet people online. You try to be as good an influence as you can, and then you give it time. And after a while, when it becomes evident that, people are going in their own direction and, they're not interested in your position or what you're trying to help them with, you let people go. It's the same with, it's not mouth sound. Father Deacon, can you mute when you're not, I'm not telling you not to talk, but just when you're not talking, because we hear a lot of background noise. So, you give it time and then you move on. For example, with Sam Shamoon, I maintained a friendly relationship with him for 4 years, somewhere in there, maybe five. And then out of nowhere, I asked him and Goofus to do a debate, and everything spiraled out of control there. Time to move on. So that's what I think. I mean, that's the only way really to navigate not just the sphere of media, but your life as well. When people are not interested, there's not much else you can do. I mean, if AP is going to call very respectful Orthodox priests like Father John Whiteford liar, it's time to just move on. I don't know what else to do. I mean, if they're not going to listen to people in the Orthodox Church, then they can just move on to, I guess he would go to evangelicalism or something like that. But don't you think that's the wise course of action here? It's like, at a certain point, if people are not interested, what are you going to do? Just make videos calling them out every day? What's the point?
It's a waste of, I mean, shoot, I should start teaching courses just in time management. Like, are you managing your time? Like, why are you wasting your time with, you're not.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's also your own time, right? Like,
it's your own time. You're not going to, if it doesn't look like you can convince them, then move on. Put your energy into other stuff. Like, and you can't force somebody to believe something true. Like, so I like, the best thing I always thought for him in the process of his catechesis and maybe even neophyte, get off the internet.
Right. Yeah.
We've seen this with a lot of people who, had big internet presence and converted to Orthodoxy. It's extremely difficult and for their own humility and growth, it would be best that, I think, get out there, just log off. I mean, look what Roosh did. I'm really proud of Roosh.
Yeah, Roosh did it right, and that might be also because he kind of thought, he might want to go into monastic life. I don't know if he has, but that was kind of the rumor going around. That might have been what spurred him to just leave the internet. But yeah, I mean, here's two versions of conversion that, Roosh was making a living on the internet, so he was in many ways kind of giving up his yeah, right, by deciding to become Orthodox and choosing to, stop yapping on the internet for a while. Kat Von D is another example who, she doesn't, she's not really a teacher, but, she continues to do her music and talks about or shows visual imagery of Orthodoxy, but she's not trying to teach everybody. She's not obnoxiously on Twitter sounding off against, everybody and all the people out there as if she knows better when she's only been in this for a year or whatever. So,
do you know who's another good example? He's a friend of mine. I'm going to see him this weekend. But Scott Cloud, was the pastor.
The mega church pastor?
Yeah, I mean, think about what he had. And I'm going to bring him on in an interview. I think he has, what do they call that? It's an agreement with the church when he stepped down that he would remain quiet about it for a period of time. What is that called? It's illegal.
I don't know. An NDA?
Yes. Anyways,
a mega church NDA. What the heck?
Here's a man who had celebrity status. He really did. Huge income, and laid it all aside to become Orthodox. Probably like cast out, a lot of hate.
Yeah.
And he hasn't gone on and been like, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just roll this into a podcast, or like I'll build. He knew the right way. He was like humbled himself, stepped down out of the limelight, and that's another. Somebody had a huge following, big celebrity status, and so I'm really proud of him too. Yeah, I mean, just right ways and wrong ways to do things. I don't know what to say when converting.
Well, the other thing too is to be kind of close to your confessor or spiritual father when you're doing this, because he's going to be the one that guides you. And it's something that you've talked about, that you've noticed a lot, is that the people whose inquiring and catechumen phases go bad, usually they stop doing that and they go off on their own, right?
Yeah, they're making all their own decisions. Especially, I mean, look, we're not saying you can't have like a online, and do stuff like that, but you shouldn't be doing it you should be getting guidance from your spiritual father and priest. Be like, what do I do? How do I move forward to this if I have a public persona or something like that? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're your own person. I mean, First of all, I already do that. With my own social media and participant faith, I don't make my own decisions. I have a whole board and priests where I'm like, is this a good idea? Is this going to be good options? What should I do? That's just orthodoxy. Yeah. And I'm not saying you need to call your priest and be like, should I go to Home Depot today? Or what about this? What about this? Or what, like, you know what I mean? You can get autistic about it. But you know what I'm generally saying? Like, you should have the insight to know, but like, this is an issue. Perhaps it's a career decision that's going to affect your life. Perhaps it's stuff that your online, you should be talking to your priest about it. You shouldn't be making your own decisions on, and like you said, I don't think these people are doing that. And is it a shocker that they run off the rails and start saying stuff and doing stuff that's not very orthodox?
Right. It's Alphanism, what's up, man? Unmute. Thank you. I appreciate that, Father Diggy. Alphanism, what's up? You want to unmute? Alphonsian, unmute. You're on.
Jay, let me come. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna talk to my godson about tag in this book that we're doing, so I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I'll come back on. Blessings.
Alphonsian, do you want to talk? You're right here. We're waiting on you. Unmute. You're a Roman Catholic and you waited this whole time to not talk. Okay. Good job, dude. It's Raptor. What's up, man? It's Raptor. Unmute. Does nobody knows how to work this? Like.
Hello, can you hear me?
What's up, man?
Hey, just wanted to quickly say first off that I'm a big fan of what you do. I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm a believer in God. But I guess the only question I had regarding the transcendental argument, which is one that I believe firmly well. One refutation that I see most commonly amongst atheists who try to refute tag is try to involve the Platonist view to try to see if these transcendental categories could be grounded in the materialistic worldview, which I know you have some contentions with. You can't really ground things in the materialistic worldview, but as a beginner to metaphysics and philosophy and all these kinds of things, I'm learning here. So I just wanted to ask you how tag.
Yeah, just look up the critiques that we have of Platonism and Neoplatonism. I mean, Platonism can't give an account for why there is many versus one. It's just stated to be the case. Platonism has no justification for why one is metaphysically superior to the many, for why eternality and stasis is metaphysically superior to change.
Platonism has no way to ground or relate the timeless, unchanging realm of the forms to the world of flux and change, because the things are cashed out in Platonism as opposites. So if they're opposites, then there's no relationship between the two. And I know that Plato thinks that there are analogous and participatory relations, but it doesn't make sense as to why. So you also need intentionality and personhood for the absolute. Plato's absolute is a impersonal monad. And so there is no then order or meaning in the world, because this world is ultimately in a diminished ontological status that is a pale reflection of the ideal or the original or the one. So this world is a prison. This world is a trap. This world is something to escape from. And that's the opposite of the Christian perspective, where this world is good. This world is something to appreciate. And God stepped into time and space in order to heal this world in this dimension, in this realm. That's the opposite of the Platonic perspective. And so Platonism is based on a lot of dialectics that it can't overcome. And again, if reality as a whole is dysteleological or non-intentional, then you don't have a justification for telos, or meaning, because ultimate reality, the absolute, is impersonal. So you need a personal deity for all of collective reality to be intentional. D?
Hello?
Yeah. What's up?
Oh, wow, that's crazy. How's it going?
What's crazy?
Oh, I guess I didn't expect to be accepted that quickly.
Loco in here, bro.
How's it going, man?
Great, dude. It's loco, though.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
I'm fluent. It's not really. So I just had a question about your views on creationism and evolution. And I've heard in clips from you before, and if that's okay, if that's a topic you're willing to speak about, I guess.
The topics are pretty much anything. I don't believe in macro evolution. I'm a skeptic of that.
Okay. And one of the things I've heard you say is based on the underdetermination of data.
Underdetermination of data,
sorry. And I guess what you reference in that is that the data can be interpreted either way, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, that's a topic in the philosophy of science that has to do with the fact that multiple paradigms can interpret raw data accurately and sufficiently. So raw data itself can't necessarily tell you which is the right paradigm.
Right. And I guess wouldn't a prerequisite of that be that the creationist paradigm explains the raw data sufficiently?
Well, the point is that you could conceivably have in both paradigms explanations for, endogenous retroviruses. Both a creation account and a evolutionary account can say why we see something like this, or why we see similarity in DNA between a human and a chimp and a lizard. So both models can explain that. And so the point is that in most of the evolutionary or scientism dominated paradigms, they think of these. Hold on a second. They think of the data being able to tell you which paradigm is true, and it doesn't. So the point is more than just that. The creationist account can account for the similarity in the design of different beings.
And when you say account for or explain, are you using a scientific definition to consider that, or how are you defining
again, it's a question of epistemology, meaning justification in a broader sense. So I'm using the philosophical term in epistemology for how we account for our paradigms, our worldviews, our presuppositions, our axioms.
Okay.
Philosophy of science is its own discipline. If you take some philosophy courses or epistemology classes, you'll get into what's called a niche discipline called philosophy of science. And that's where this underdetermination of data thesis comes from.
Okay. And I guess, philosophy of science, but when you get down to actual science, wouldn't there be requisites to being what can be adequately explained by a particular model or another?
Science, in terms of empirical sense data, cannot tell you what paradigm model is correct because it goes beyond the purview of scientific empirical sense data. That's a very limited tool.
So do you... Science can't tell us what's wrong and right, so you think that it can't tell us
you not
whether
hear what
the
I
Earth
just said?
is...
So you're just making assumptions. You didn't listen to what I said. I said
Okay, I apologize. I'll listen
scientific
again.
data is limited as empirical sense data and can't
Correct.
tell you what paradigm or worldview is correct.
Right. A worldview would be a separate topic, because a worldview could be a misinterpretation as well. Correct. Like wouldn't you have to the worldview that whether there is or isn't a God wouldn't necessarily be
Let me give you an
tied to
example.
whether there is or isn't evolution or the Earth is or isn't flat.
You're not understanding what we're talking about here. I'm talking about a domain of philosophy called epistemology, and you continue to think of it in the realm of scientific experimentation. I'm saying that epistemology is prior to that because it's asking more fundamental, broader questions about how science is possible. That's the issue at root that is being debated, not whether or not we do science or whether or not science can tell us facts about the natural world. I'm saying that science is like a tool, but a tool can't tell you where the universe came from or where even the tool came from. The tool has a use, but it's limited in the scope of what it can tell you. So the scientific method, for example, can't tell you how we got the scientific method or whether the scientific method is reliable.
Well, that would be a separate question, yes, but I think the scientific method would be demonstrated as reliable by the fact that you use it in everyday life.
Again,
and it makes accurate predictions.
You should take an epistemology class because you're just stating sort of basic stuff that is not even you're missing the point of what we're asking. The fact that you use something is not.
Well, I have taken an epistemology class.
No, you haven't.
I have.
I can tell by what you're saying that you haven't, or you didn't listen. You slept through it.
Okay, I mean that's fair. I mean, it seems
if you
like
had, you would
you're
understand
kind
the
of
difference.
avoiding. This seems like a way of you trying to avoid the fact that you have.
No, you literally don't
model
understand
to
what I'm
put
saying.
forward.
You wanted to sound smart on the stream, and you're not aware of the basics, and so you don't even know what I'm talking about. Tell me what justified true belief is.
I was actually just coming
What
here
is justified true belief?
Can I ask you a question
What
first?
is justified true belief?
Can I ask you
What is justified true belief?
A justified true belief, I would say, is a belief that is demonstrably and repeatably true.
No, that's not what justified true belief means. And
Okay,
if you had, that would be the first. If you had an epistemology class, that would be the first thing that you would learn because that's what you learn early on in epistemology classes.
Okay, well, I've taken one. It was a while ago.
Okay, how are you not aware of the basics?
Well, I mean, I don't know, because it was 12 years ago. I don't do this every day like you, Jay. I'm honestly trying to have a conversation with you. I'd like to ask you one question.
I'm slowly and precisely answering and working through every question that you ask, and then you insert the insult that I'm trying to avoid the questions that you're asking. That's what pisses me off. Why would I be spending my time sitting here answering precisely your questions and delineating the difference between a theory and a scientific thesis and a paradigm if I'm trying to get away from your questions?
Okay, I didn't mean it as an insult, and I'm sorry if I upset you. I really am not. I honestly had seen some of your videos, and I was coming to ask because when you say that one of the paradigms, both paradigms can adequately explain the raw data, I don't understand that, so I was coming to ask what you see from a creationist perspective that would explain any of the data we see.
So
that's what I was coming to ask.
Let me give you an example. So if I have a creationist model, if God created all the beings in his image, and primarily man in his image, and then the created order has a single origin, a single creator, that's one reason why we would see similarity between the DNA of a human and a chimpanzee, right? Let me finish. The evolutionary model also says that I can explain the similarity, and that's because they have a common descent and line of origin. So both of those explanations explain. I'm not. It doesn't. I know you don't like one better than the other, but they both have explanatory power. So you're misunderstanding that underdetermination of data just simply means that you can't just get more raw data, because it's not going to tell you which paradigm is correct, because both can have explanatory power for the same data. That's all it means. It's not saying that Christianity is true because of underdetermination of data thesis. I never said that. It's just simply saying that the data itself requires a theory, and data is theory laden. That's all it means.
Okay. And so just to respond what you said, and then I'll be done unless you have a follow-up. So what you just said that's not a scientific explanation. It sounds in a 2-second bit like, oh, well, they have the same creator. Again, so
you don't even understand the basics. You don't even understand the basics, because it's so stupid, man. Honestly, what you're saying is so dumb, man. I'm struggling. I've been very patient, and it's like,
yeah, you don't
at
like
a certain
disagreement.
point. So, I mean, you don't even understand what are the basics of philosophy of science and why that's prior to the doing of science. And we can make this really simple, really quick. How do you know the scientific method is true?
Because you test it, and if you can make.
How do you test the method itself? The method itself.
You make predictions, and they have explanatory power.
The method itself. You don't even understand. You can't even understand the question I'm asking you. You think I'm asking you if we do science and if science predicts things. I'm asking you a higher order question. The method itself, the scientific method itself, is that under a microscope?
No, it's a logical principle.
Oh, it's a logical principle. Is logic found under a microscope?
No, it's not.
So you believe in things that you can't see?
I do believe in thought, yes.
Oh, so logic is thought?
Yes, it is.
Logic is thought. So the scientific method.
It's a way of describing thought. Yes.
So scientific method is only in your head.
What do you think? It's like floating around or something?
Okay, right. So the scientific method is only in your head. Good job, dude. This is why it's impossible to talk to people who are extremely confident in their ignorance. Aitley, what's up, man? He didn't even realize that he was walking right into the most ridiculous, easy trap, affirming that the scientific method is thought and is in his head. Then you can't prove, test it, or verify it if it's only in your head. And if you're a materialist, then what's in your head is just random neurons firing, and it's not even actually a method. It's like a dream. Amazing. Aitley, what's up, man? I'm you.
What's up? It's Allie. Thanks for having me up again. I just had a quick question I wanted to run by you. Somebody sent me I think that Faraj guy or whatever his name is, the guy that used to be Oriental Orthodox. But it made me think, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that these sola scriptura enjoyers, they are textualists basically when it comes to the Bible, but when it comes to like the Constitution, they would be Orthodox or an originalist. Do you see that as like a contradictory standard between those two?
I mean, I think that they just kind of make it up as they go. I mean, I've met Protestants who believe that Marbury versus Madison was the beginning of the end of America because the Supreme Court was operating like a papal magisterium. So it just really depends on what Protestant you're even talking about. Troy America, what's up? But I think ultimately, overall, it's inconsistent. I'm just like these people who are like Reddit science people. They're so arrogant and so annoying, and they don't even know like how much they don't know. And then they come on and you tell them very precisely with your answers. And then they're like, you're just avoiding what I'm asking you because the scientific method, dude. The scientific method. The scientific method is like this deity that they appeal to. And then you start drilling into what it is, where it is, how do we justify it. And they just like say the stupidest stuff you've ever thought of. Oh, the scientific method is thoughts and logic is thoughts in my head.
All right, Jay, can you hear me?
Yep.
I wanted to say happy Bitcoin all-time high day, although I think we're off by about 100.
Oh, we're not there yet?
We're right there, man. We're at 123,000 right now. And
congrats to the Bit Bros.
And my question is, do you think we'll hit it this stream? Do you think we'll hit it the end of the day or end of the week? All-time high.
What was the all-time high? 12.
So I'm looking at TradingView here, and I'm seeing 123,236 on July 14th.
Probably tonight.
All right, I'm hoping. All right, thank you, Jay. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but if it's that close, it's probably gonna do it. Dylan, what's up, dude? Bob Dylan, what's on your mind? Yeah, Bob Dylan, what's on your mind, bro? Dylan, I'm you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was up. Hey, Jay, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind?
Hey, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on. It's a topic about dispensationalism. So, with I've changed my view over the years, but I came across a paper I wrote for a class about 2 years ago that talked about dispensationalism, and I kind of want to understand, I guess, the Orthodox perspective of how they answer what at that time I saw as a pitfall, which was if the church is the continuation of Israel. Is that the correct teaching?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they're the continuation of Israel, the true Israel, when you have commandments from the Old Testament, like in the Ten Commandments, things like observing the Sabbath being for, all generations, and then the traditional Saturday Sabbath is no longer a held tradition. What, I guess, is like the justification for that, so it's not a contradiction?
Right, so the eternal Sabbath, Hebrews 4 says, was fulfilled when Christ rested in the tomb and when he rested at the right hand of the Father in the ascension. So Hebrews 4 clears that up for you and tells you that it is an eternal Sabbath, and it is the Sabbath rest that we have in Christ, ultimately in the resurrection, which is a present reality that he brought at his first advent, and especially at the ascension. So Hebrews 4 answers your question. And in the Orthodox Church on Saturday Vesper services, we actually do still honor the seventh day. So you should read Hebrews, and maybe read Hebrews 3 or 4 times through. Jacob, what's up, man? But good question.
Hey, Jay, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Hey, so I was wanting to call in because I saw you were talking about Doug Wilson and CREC and all that. My close immediate family is all CREC. My dad is actually a elder in the church there.
Okay.
And so I wanted to just call and ask you, like, what you think. Like, how can I talk to them about Christian nationalism? What's your opinion on that sort of thing? Like, what do you think on that? Like, what are the main defeaters for that?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of older talks on how the nation state should be Christian. But the problem is that you can't have a Christian nation state without a single church. So, for example, we know that, God doesn't want the worship of foreign gods, entities, etc. So if you're going to use this model of Israel as kind of the model for a Christian state or a Christian theocracy, how are you going to legislate or, choose between what kinds of crazy cults and sects are allowed? For example, can a Jehovah's Witness continue to have their, quote, worship and their proselytization in a Christian civilization or society? I mean, if you're consistent with it, no, you can't. You have to not have anti-Trinitarian groups. Okay, well, where's the line? Well, that's because there's one church. So that what they're missing is that you can't have pan-Protestantism and have a Christian theocracy. Are you going to unite with the tens of thousands of different Skittles, fake-ass Christian groups and sects out there? I mean, that's insane. It's never going to work. That's crazy. The only way to have symphonia, which is what these idiots are looking for, which is the history of the church, is to have one church. You're not going to have Protestant symphonia, you idiots. So It's first and foremost heresy, because Doug Wilson is an anti-Trinitarian heretic, it appears. Secondly, you got to have the Orthodox faith to have a Christian government, because you need the church to coronate in a coronation service the Christian ruler or emperor or king. That's the entire history of the Orthodox and the Christian church in the East. And even the Latin church, the West, had the same basic model until, I don't know, even in the Middle Ages, like the Latin church still understood, you know, the two spheres of governance between church and state to a degree. Even though the Pope was like overstepping his bounds and becoming himself the Kwisatz Haderach, they still had this same idea. So that's what the Byzantine eagle is intended to signify. It's two heads of the same body, right? Church and state working together in symphonia. But what all of these idiots who are probably going to be baited by a bunch of feds don't understand is that it doesn't work with Calvinism and Protestantism, because those are not real churches. And they're sects that don't have any authority or historicity other than a few hundred years of Calvinism and whatever, Lutheranism, whatever. It has to be the church that existed from the beginning, because that church alone has the authority from Christ, because it has apostolic succession. Doug Wilson has no apostolic succession. Doug Wilson has his own made-up denomination and sect. How in the world could we join together with zillions of schismatics, heretics, and crazy cult people to form a Christian? It's insane. It's idiotic. But they're right about one thing, which is that it's true that if Christians are beat down and told to be wimps and losers and weak, that the atheists, the Satanists, the secularists, the whatever, the Zionists, they will take power. You're only evil if you want power as a Christian. That's supposed to be somehow evil or something. That's not the history of the church, okay? But it's also not Joel Weebon or Smug Wilson or any of these people taking power and becoming their own cult leaders, as they are, without actual historical normative authority. You also don't convert the nation by converting the government. This is so dumb. I can't believe that people are so naive to fall for this, or to think that, yeah, man, we'll just gather together with J.D. Vance and Doug Wilson and all the right-wing Christians, and we'll create a Christian government, and then we'll enact Christian laws, and it'll be a new Calvinist, Orthodox, Tradcat Byzantium. You're just fed bait, you dummy. The only way that you have a Christian Orthodox government is when the majority of the people have converted to Orthodoxy and they want it. It's not going to work to force that top down. However, the one thing that all of these people are correct about is that somebody will exercise power. And if Christians are so stupid as to think that, and this is ultimately a Reformation heresy, okay? It's not a Tradcat heresy. This is ultimately a heresy out of the Reformation and the spread of evangelicalism and all this stuff, is to think that somehow the state is antithetical to God, as if God didn't create the state, and as if authority in the state also doesn't come from God. Okay, so when the early church converted the Roman Empire, not by force, but by 3 centuries of martyrs, the emperors became Christian eventually. And they began, after Theodosius and after Justinian, to enact Christian laws. Look up the Code of Justinian. Okay, so it took 300, 400, 500, 600 years to do that. You're not going to get that with fedtards forcing the government to be Christian nationalists with Vance and Teal or whatever. That's not going to happen. But, I mean, a lot of this, I think, also kind of dupes and appeals to, like, naive 20-year-old guys that are genuinely want to be right-wing and conservative. I was the same way, right? When I was 20, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm a Calvinist Reconstructionist. I like Doug Wilson. I used to read Doug Wilson back when I was 20. Yeah, let's make it. We're going to convert America to, reform Christianity. I was a hardcore Reconstructionist back in the day. And even when I was a Calvinist Reconstructionist, reading Bonson and Van Til and Rushdoony and Doug Wilson and James Jordan and Gary North, I read all these guys. One thing that stuck out to me, I had an argument with my Calvinist pastor one day. And it illustrates the problem with this idiotic position. And that was over whether or not Jehovah's Witnesses in the Christian theocracy would be allowed to exist and do their thing. Because the Reconstructionist Calvinist pastor that I had, he argued that they would be allowed to because they named the name Jehovah. And he said if they followed with the laws of the Reconstructionist Calvinist Christian nationalist state, they could exist and have their thing. I argued, no, wait a minute, because blasphemy or teaching against the one true God is like the number one, that's pretty high up in the Ten Commandments. So why would we allow an Aryan sect, right? By that logic, Muslims would also exist in that society, right? So I realized that what that highlights is Protestantism's church relativism, right? Because of the invisible church doctrine, because, we're all actually Christians, bro. And ecumenism is ultimately a Protestant heresy, even if it was promoted and taught by the papacy originally, you could argue. It's not going to work when nobody has a shared common Christian faith. Duh. You need the same faith, the same state. That's how Byzantium was the most successful empire in world history, or at least in Western civilizational history, with the most successful currency for 1100 years. The Byzant was because they had the same faith, and they had the same emperor, and they had kings together united with the same faith. That's how it worked. It doesn't work. Look at when the Protestants arose. You had Protestant nation states with state rulers behind the various Reformation movements, except for Zwingli, right? I mean, maybe Zwingli had some degree of political power, but, in Geneva, Calvin kind of becomes a sort of theocrat. Luther has the German princes supporting him. The mic is cutting out? Shouldn't be. Glitching? What's glitching? Let me see. Is the sound good? That's weird because it reads consistent stream, consistent. Let me check the notifications to see. There was a brief internet disconnection. It's storming, so it might be because there's a storm outside. Are we good now? If you hit refresh, can everybody hear me? Everything good? Okay. So I think it was just a brief snafu because of the storm. But yeah, anyway, so that's the point, is that, when you read the first 1,000 years of Christianity, you realize that there's a close parallel between the one Orthodox Catholic faith that everyone has and the state, which is the aid and the supporter and the diakonos to that church. And so ultimately, it is the church that has the divine authority to coronate the king, the ruler, the emperor. And it does not work, obviously, when there's 20,000 different competing faiths. Obviously, that's nonsensical. Theology, what's up? You want to unmute?
Yeah, hello?
Hey.
Yeah, so what do you think about, like, an epistemic agnostic that uses Lewisian logic as their justification for, like, using logic?
I'm not a specialist in logic theories, so you could ask that to somebody like FDA who has a degree in that, but different theories about how logic works isn't going to work to make sense of a whole paradigm. So even if you could find an alternate version of logical justification or something like that, like how is that going to explain objective morals or any of the other issues that come up, like universals or metaphysics?
All right, and have you seen the video by G-Ube about the refutation of Tag? It's like a video like some Christian like trying to refute Tag, and he's like talking about it. It's like one of your channels.
No, I don't run. Jub runs the Jub channel, not me.
All
all that was unknown to me. Jacob, the Latter-day Saint. Uh-oh, here we go.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I was just curious I'm a Latter-day Saint. I was curious if you've ever read the Book of Mormon, if you had any thoughts on it, any major objections.
Yeah, I mean, I've read significant portions of it. I have Bruce R. McConkie's Mormon Doctrine book over there. Do you believe that Adam was a man, or that God was a man and is a man that became God?
I do believe that the Father had a mortal experience. My question was more around the content.
Oh, wait a minute. You don't want to go to the Adam God doctrine? So
no,
wait a minute.
we could. I just particularly was interested in your thoughts on the Book of Mormon, since it's the keystone of our religion.
Well, I mean, the fact that Joseph Smith wrote himself into Genesis 50 is, I think, the kill shot for why it's a fraud in his translation.
Do you have any thoughts on the Book of Mormon?
Okay, so you don't want to talk about the kill. You don't want to talk about the kill shots to your religion.
That's not what I came up to ask. I mean,
so you don't. Yeah, you didn't come up to ask the things that would refute the religion. I understand. So why would I believe a man who wrote himself into Genesis 50?
If you don't want to take the.
Why would I believe the Book of Mormon if he wrote himself into? So you're not going to answer the question exactly because you can't.
Can you ask it again?
Why would I believe the Book of Mormon coming from a guy who wrote himself into Genesis 50 to predict himself?
The argument I'd make is that the Book of Mormon is an ancient document that preserves a prophecy.
Did you hear what I said? Why would I believe him in the Book of Mormon if he wrote himself into Genesis 50? That would cancel out anything to do with anything from him.
The introduction of the prophecy in Genesis 50 is sourced from the Book of Mormon. And so when he does his Joseph Smith translation, he inserts the prophecy.
So Genesis, okay, Genesis 50, you understand that we have multiple copies of Genesis from varying traditions for thousands of years prior to Joseph Smith, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that. My claim here is that the Book of Mormon preserves that.
So you're not going to talk about that. So, but there's no. But why would none of those copies contain Joseph Smith in Genesis 50 until Joseph Smith translates it and magically it suddenly predicts him?
Do you think that the Bible contains all revelation ever given to a prophet? Do you think it's impossible?
What do you think a mark of a prophet is?
That's not my question. I asked you.
All right, so you're not going to answer. Yeah, you're not going to answer.
I asked you a question. You didn't answer.
Your question assumes that a prophet is somebody who can write themselves into a book, and we just take his word for it.
No, my question was that do you think it's possible that revelation to a prophet is missing?
If I write myself into Genesis 50 and I say that it's predicting me, wouldn't you think I'm a con man?
If you came to me and said, "Hey, look, there's a prophecy I received. It's about me. It proves I'm a prophet," yes. But that's not what he did.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. What are you talking about? Where before Joseph Smith was Joseph Smith in Genesis 50? Name a text or a tradition that has anything like that.
I don't claim that they do.
Because it came from him. And you're saying that we trust him because the Book of Mormon.
No,
but the Book of Mormon is where we get Genesis 50's prediction of him. It's a circle.
It's
a circle.
The syllogism would not be a circle. It would be if the Book of Mormon is true, then
no,
Joseph Smith
you already told me that Genesis 50 comes from the Book of Mormon. And I asked you why I should believe the Book of Mormon if he writes himself into Genesis 50. And you said because of the Book of Mormon. So it's a circle.
No, let me rephrase it just in case I didn't say it well. My syllogism would be if the Book of Mormon is true, then Joseph Smith is a prophet. Is that a circle?
Are you seriously that stupid? Because that was not how the argument went.
I may have said it differently before.
It doesn't. That's not even a valid syllogism. You don't. It's if that's the thing in question, dude. Why would I believe Joseph Smith when he translates Genesis 50 about himself and adds things about himself that were never in any previous text of Genesis from Jews, Christians, or anyone else prior to Joseph Smith?
I'll repeat my question. Was my syllogism a circle?
All right. This is why no one listens to you. You guys are too dumb, dude. Good God. Seth, what's up? So you believe Genesis 50, he said, because of the Book of Mormon. Why would I believe the Book of Mormon? Well, because the Book of Mormon is the validation of Joseph Smith being a prophet. But why would I believe Joseph Smith's a prophet if Genesis 50 is the evidence against him being a prophet because he wrote himself into it? Because the Book of Mormon is what Genesis 50 is about. That's the thing in question, dude. Seth?
Hey, man, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you debate these guys. Going back to the scientific method guy, I wonder if any of them have read, like, Duhem Quine, or I just feel like they have this...
Of course not.
Yeah, so... But my question is regarding free will and determinism. And ultimately, I think it's like a paradox. I don't think we can really know. I mean, obviously, I think you have to assume we have free will in order to even get off the ground. Otherwise, you're just like, what are you, in a robot? I mean, like, but my question is regarding your stance of primary versus secondary causation. So, like, my problem is, like, if God is the sustaining cause to what, like, enables my very existence and capacity to, like, choose in the first place, then how can my actions be truly free in a way that, like, absolves God of ultimate responsibility? Does that make sense?
Well, again, it's based on divine revelation that we are told that God creates a world where there's secondary causes. So God, being all-powerful, has the ability to do that. There's nothing about the metaphysics of the world that necessitates that God must be the direct cause of every action. And our entire Christology is built around the fact that Christ possesses a divine will and a human will and volition. That means that as a human, and being truly human and fully human, he can actually cause and do things in a human way in the world. So to take away that would be ultimately to destroy all Christology. And that's actually, by the way, what Calvinism does, is that it's Christologically a heresy and it's a Trinitarian heresy. But, I mean, there's not some, like, algorithm that proves that there's secondary causes. We believe there's secondary causes because it's revealed in Scripture that it is that there are.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think free will kind of ironically comes through submission. Like, for instance, if me and you are going to freely play a game of chess, we first have to submit to the rules of the game, right? Does that make sense? But I mean,
it's a property of nature. So to have human nature requires the ability to actually be a cause in the world. So I'm not sure what you mean by submission. So having free will requires, I mean, it sounds like Calvinism. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like if me and you were going to play the game of chess, right? If we decided, hey, let's play the game of chess.
Now, I understood your analogy. I just don't understand how it's relevant to what we're talking about.
Well, it was sort of just parlaying off what you were talking about. It wasn't, directly correlated. I'm a compatibilist myself, so I'm not like a Calvinist. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Like if someone were to say, well, God is the actual sustaining of my freedom in the first place, do you not see how that would be like maybe a good argument for not having free will? So if I set up the game and then, something happens within that game, I'm the one who set it up in the first place.
But setting up the game, part of the laws and rules of the game is that the beings have their own causal power.
But what I'm saying is their very causal power is being sustained through God. Like right now, your neurons are firing.
Being sustained doesn't mean that you don't have causal power. Again, that's just assuming that God is the immediate cause of your causation.
Wouldn't that take away from God's omnipotence, though?
No, only if you're an occasionalist, and that's what Sunni Muslims are, and we are not occasionalists.
Okay, well, that was my question.
Yeah, I mean, being the sustainer of the universe does not necessitate that you're the direct cause of every object or every event or every being in the universe. It just means that you've given these beings the ability to be causes, and that's why we talk about energies in terms of human nature and human will, and every being or human nature having the property of acting according to its nature, means that's what's meant by sustaining. It's not being like the direct cause. So sustaining is not the same as causing. Mars, make it quick, please. I want people to disagree.
Hey, what's up, Jay?
Yeah, what's on your mind?
I'm playing a little catch up since I'm a little behind on your video, but you were talking about how if a group would come and take power, it's not from top to bottom, it's from bottom up is how you do it. Were you saying that's how it works in general, or it's never happened where a minority group or a minority ideological group in a country or in a nation?
Okay, we're not in a situation where we're run by a Viking king who converts and then tells everybody else to convert. That's not the reality of the world today.
I see. You're saying in our context, it's really not.
Obviously, that's what I mean.
Okay, yeah, because I'm sure, like in church history, even there was times.
Yeah, but we're not in the Middle Ages. We don't have Viking lords, dude. I'm not trying to be rude. It's just obviously that's what I meant. KD, what's up, man? I'm gonna have to. Let me find a ginger chew. It's ginger chew time. I was eating these other things, trying to calm down. What's up, man? I'm you. Oh, look how he's getting mean. He's getting mean. We got him. No. You don't got me. I'm still loving. I'm still nice. I'm eating a ginger chew. You don't have me. You don't got me. You can't expose me. Expose him. Clip it. Expose him. We got him. He's mean. I'm eating a ginger chew. You know I'm gonna be nice and loving now. It's gonna calm my anger beaties. I don't have diabetes. I got anger beaties. Anger beatus. It's calming right now. Breathe. Bert and Ernie. This
hey Jay.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so I was told to call in. I was raised Roman Catholic all my life. Recently in my young adulthood.
And you were told to call in?
Yeah. My friends. So usually I got some friends that are really big fans, and they just say, "Oh, talk to Jay. He would know the answers to these questions."
Okay.
But yeah. So again, raised Roman Catholic, still go to mass every Sunday. But I'm kind of just losing faith a little bit in the sense that I'm tired of kind of the Catholic guilt haranguing, I guess, that I get all the time. And I'm wondering if there's a difference between that and Orthodox Christianity. And second to that, part of the problem with, I guess, the guilt and haranguing that the Catholic Church does is the idea that, you might have touched on this before I called in, but the idea of a nation state or whether we're allowed to protect our borders or anything like that. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm curious to see what you have to say about that compared to what I hear every Sunday. So
the last hour was about Christian nationalism and the Christian state. What's appropriate, when that's appropriate. Of course, we would have the right to defend your borders. Every Christian country in the history of the church has operated with basic principles of self-defense. So, yes, I would say that between Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism, there's a very different ethos of what it means to undergo healing in the church, to participate in the sacraments. It is far less legalistic and far less obsessed with tallying up, violations and this kind of stuff. We do confession, but it's a lot more intimate. It's a lot more personal and based on you rather than the sort of mechanistic sort of rote process of how confession happens in the Roman Catholic world, because I've experienced both. So, the quick answer to your questions is yes, it is different. And yes, Christian nations should be able to defend their borders.
Secondary question to that then, so is there still kind of a one, I guess, parable that I have not a gripe with, but I've heard different homilies about this. It's Luke 18:9-14, about the Pharisee and the tax collector. I'm just curious to see how would you explain it? I see it
hold on, Luke 18 what?
Luke 18:9-14 about the Pharisee and the tax collector.
Okay, what about it?
So, in the parable, the tax collector is viewed as the better person, even though he's saying, "God have mercy on I am a sinner."
Mm-hmm.
And the Pharisee is saying, "God, thank you for not making me a robber or a adulterer or anything like that."
Mm-hmm.
However, it's just curious to me. I don't know. I mean, could you explain it better than, I don't know, what I always hear is just like, you're, no matter what you do, you're always going to be a sinner. There's no, feeling good about yourself.
Well, I mean, I think all of the passages have to be interpreted in light of all the other passages. So, like, we don't only read this passage and then think, oh, I'm never actually correct about something because then I would be the Pharisee. In the Orthodox Church, for example, you have a liturgical cycle where this passage is read at a point in the year. So I think in God's wisdom, in God's providence, he arranged it such that there is a time in the year where we are reminded of this and we reflect on our own tendencies to be Pharisees. But we wouldn't take this example and make it universal and absolute in all cases, as if you could never be right about something and say somebody else is bad. Similarly, you could think about, Jesus says, do not judge before the measure that you met out, it will be meted to you. But also in John 7, he says, judge with righteous judgment. So the issue is not being correct or being a sinner, because we are all sinners. We are all at times going to be correct. We're all at times going to be wrong. It's everything in its season. If you think about Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, Solomon says there's a time for war. There's a time for peace. There's a time to laugh. There's a time to cry and repent. Like, there's times and seasons for all these things. And a lot of heresies and a lot of misinterpretations, and I'm not talking about you specifically, but just like in general, overlooks this and absolutizes this thing, that thing, this verse or that verse. Cracker. By the way, if you want to support the stream, guys, you can super chat. Super chats are done through Streamlabs. Streamlabs link is pinned in the chat. It's also in the show description. Or you can do a super chat natively through YouTube. I do have a few super chats that I didn't get to last night or the other night, so I got to read some of those because they came in towards the end of the stream. What's up, Creter? You want to unmute?
Hey, Jay.
Uh-huh.
I'm Orthodox in Russia, but I still can't figure out this thing with atheists. Let's say I'm an atheist and you're Orthodox, and I assume, knowledge, objective reality, truth, and so on and so forth, and you assume God, who explains all of these transcendental categories. So why is my set of assumptions any worse than your set of assumptions?
Well, tag is not just about sets of assumptions. Tag is about whose assumptions can provide justification, or who can justify their assumptions. Whose explanation who has explanatory power and can provide justified true belief. So it's not just a matter of having assumptions. It's whose assumptions actually can do the work of grounding.
So basically, Christian worldview is more coherent, and
that's just one aspect of it. It's not just about coherence. It's also, giving an account for how those things are possible, what those things are. For example, universals, laws of logic, etc.
History as well. History is a part of
ethics. Yeah. Making sense of ethical norms, objective morals, etc.
So yeah, to me, it also makes more sense that God exists. But, if we're being very formal and, if an atheist really clings to their opinion, they'll say, you assume God the same way I assume everything about the reality. So why is it any different?
The reason why is they believe in accidentalism. So accidentalism, which is the denial of God,
hey, Jamie,
makes knowledge impossible. So it'd be like if somebody was trying to do mathematics or something like that. Somebody's like, well, I assume numbers or something like that. And another person says, I assume rocks or something. Well, obviously, rocks or whatever other assumption doesn't make mathematics possible. The atheist is in a worse situation. They're actually assuming something that makes their knowledge claims even about atheism impossible.
Right.
So, yeah, we all assume stuff. First of all, you got to get your assumptions in the right categories. If you're assuming, you want to assume number and magnitude and stuff like that for mathematics and not cake and eggs and stuff like that. So you can automatically remove somebody who's just categorically in the wrong category. But what's worse is when you assume stuff that makes that actual thing impossible.
Yes.
And these lead to contradiction. I mean, this is exactly how we do reductions. So we all assume stuff. That's not what's in question. He thinks, well, it's just... So the problem that you're asking is you think, well, everybody's assumptions are just as equal and they work for anything. Like, nobody in their right mind believes that about anything. So I don't know where you're getting that from, but that's just retarded. But it misses the greater kind of point. They're assuming something... What's that?
I appreciate the question. Father D, there was a guy in here a minute ago. I don't know if he's still here. He might want to come back. The guy who asked a question about Lewis logic. He was saying, what if I don't take a classical approach to logic? I believe in something Lewis-based logic. I don't know what he's talking about.
It's probably paraconsistent logic.
Oh, that question? Yeah, you've dealt with that before. I didn't realize that's what that was.
A million times. So these paraconsistent logics, they're developed to deal with specific things. They're not claiming to be the overall kind of universal logic behind everything. And so, in other words, with some of these paraconsistent logics, all they realize is that, and maybe in some instances, the law of exclude the middle doesn't apply. And how would you develop a logic that it's like, we're fine with that? But what's so stupid, if you think that that's an well, what if I develop another theory of logic that accepts, because what they're really trying to do is get out of the disjunct, right? The either or.
Right.
Yeah, there might be situations, we all know that there's false dichotomies, for example. And you might want to develop a logic. But if it's a universal logic that denies disjuncts in the law exclude the middle, it's self-refuting. Why? Well, is it true or is it not true? Your paraconsistent logic. Do you see what the problem is? If you make it absolute, so no, it doesn't get you out of the problem. And furthermore, they're missing the. I was just talking with Tony, my godson, about this, who might want to come to the conference in Florida, by the way. Working on this book with Russ, and before he passed. But what do we notice, Jay? They get lost in this stupid maze of semantic sorcery and philosophy. Well, what about this? It's like, it's really easy. It's either accidentalism or intentionalism.
Right.
You're making it much more complicated than it actually has to be. And so here's a question. And this goes into the whole account. Who cares if you create another logic? That's not a justification. It's like what the scientists are like.
That's
mathematics works so that it must be true. It's like the mathematics doesn't prove anything. You just want your scientific theory to obviously be mathematically consistent and stuff like that. But you have a kind of theory of underdetermination data with that. It's like you could build multiple systems.
Yeah.
With different logic systems. That's not an objection to why, because we're not putting logic behind God. Whatever logic system you build, right, if it's true or justificatory in any sense, it's going to be because of God. So you're missing the kind of bigger question because you're getting bogged down in the weeds, don't you think?
Yeah. Jacob Cabay, $5. Jay, I'm trying to find the clip where the black guy says, "What that mean?" at a live event. I think you're talking about the Bryson Gray debate because he says it twice. In the debate he says, "What that is?" when I talk about a fallacy. And he says, "What that is." And then at the live event, which was with Dave Gordon, and I don't remember when he comes on. But it's when Bryson comes on at the live event. What's up, man? Do you want to say something, Josh?
Yeah. I had a question on St. Constantine. I've been kind of like researching the saints recently, and I've been searching his story. And I know there's a ton of controversy on like whether he was a pagan or whether he was like trying to claim himself as God. And I was just really confused because I am an Orthodox Christian myself, but I'm in catechesis and I was just studying him. I'm confused on whether he was just good for the councils, and that's where we attribute him as to be a saint, and there were some things that like the other saints.
So you can't be a saint and just be good for the church. Like,
yeah, I was just saying in the parts that we disagree, how we disagree, for example, like with Aquinas on certain things where he necessarily didn't know that he was in heresy, but that at his time it hasn't been discussed yet. I didn't know if
well, Aquinas isn't in the church, so that's an easy one.
Yes. I was just confused because they were showing like his arch and things like that, and I was listening to the stories where like I totally believe, but I was just saying that like, is there anything that is to prove that he was actually for Orthodoxy? And if there is, can I get an example so I can read about it? Because when I look at it on YouTube or I try to search about it, all of it is constantly, trying to play the devil's advocate rather than like, telling a truthful side. It's always like what if?
Right there, that's worthy of becoming a saint. Because you know why? We didn't have an edict to Milan. None of us would be Christian and Orthodox today.
True. Yeah, he's like on my first kind of real encounter with trying to understand his story, it was just immediate controversy rather than like most other stories with the saints. It's a pretty based and simple story, or it's very coherent. With him, I guess there is just some controversy. Also, I guess with him being a politician, as an emperor, there could be like questioning for that. But I was just wondering.
Protestants, like, they hate Constantine.
Yeah, I used to be a Protestant, so I used to be really critical of all that stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff. It's just demonic chatter. You can just ignore it.
Yeah, okay, cool. Because that's what I'm saying. It was a real history video. That's what it's actually called. It's like the controversy of Constantine on YouTube. And that's what I was saying. Everybody just tries to always play devil's advocate. And I don't know if there was just any legitimacy to that in any of these stories at all. Like if there was a little bit that played in part of it or not. Because, reading about his mother and stuff, I mean, there's real churches that she founded. And there is evidence to speak, and especially with him converting the Roman Empire, I mean, there is evidence to speak for his conversion to Christianity rather than just playing devil's advocate. But it still just sometimes makes me wonder. And like I said, just to get the full perspective of stuff, I didn't know if there was some flaws with him.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that question. But yeah, moving on. Clouds, what's up? By the way, I found it. I don't know why it's titled this. But Mike, that guy who's a trad cat, maybe he doesn't want people seeing this video because, like, Dave Gordon didn't do good. But here it is. And then Bryson comes on some point in the end Q&A. I don't know where. It's pretty funny, though.
Dude, look at that fan in the back. What is that thing, dude?
It's a venue in Nashville called, I think, the Foundry. It's like a old it's like a warehouse they converted into an event venue.
Yeah, dude, I've seen that. It's in Twin Peaks, dude.
It's actually a pretty nice venue. In fact, I think I think they actually charge a little too much for this venue. So, let's see. Somewhere in here is Bryson. I don't know where though. Somebody's probably tagged it in the comments though. Anyway. It's right here. You can go find it in the last third.
Man, I'm getting a super headache, dude. This is awful. What's up, Clouds?
Hi, Jay. Thanks a lot for your audio work. It's helped me out immensely. I just had a question, and I'm hoping you can expand and give me some depth on what it means to know God. And I'd like to just say a few scriptures just to pinpoint where I'm at. The Hebrew word for know God is yada, and it says, like in Genesis, Adam knew, or yada, Eve, and then Cain was born. And we see like Jesus saying in Matthew 7:21, you know, not everyone will enter. And they'll say, Lord, Lord, Lord. And he'll say, you know, depart from me, I never knew you. And there's like no shortages of God saying, you know, be still and know I'm God. So I'm hoping you can sort of expand on what this layer of intimacy is behind the knowing of God.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, in the Orthodox conception, and that's a great question, it's simply more than just knowing abstract facts about God or knowing about the Bible and theology. It's having a relationship, and that's why the sacraments are there to really solidify that relationship. That's why Jesus gave us that feeding on him, as he mentions in John 6, that participation in the uncreated divine life. So truly knowing him is an actual participatory relationship beyond just the abstract. Fuel my fire, but great question. I would actually say that theosis is precisely what that is. Let me read a couple of these super chats because they're piling up here. You missed my super chat about roasting Bust Down a Julie. I apologize for that. Schizo Rant, $3. No, we did that. I'm sorry. Jewish Skeptic, $10. Step into the water. Just kidding. You can also do before any year such as 2019 after typing into Google search, and it will actually filter all the results after that date. Oh, I didn't know that. So you can actually get the internet prior to the dead internet, even on Google, but you have to specify to filter the results before 2019 or something. But Google is still fake and gray, though. God bless. Thank you, Jewish Skeptic. Appreciate that. Jenny P, $5. I'm a newbie here. I listen to Brandon Tatum debunk the Orthodox nun on Tucker. I swear it is right for your perspective. Have a look at it. Maybe or no. Okay. I don't know who Brandon Tatum is. Brandon Tatum. The black dude? Officer Brandon Tatum? Like he's a cop? Well, I mean, if he's a cop, he knows theology. I mean, maybe I should just listen to Brandon Tatum, because if he's a cop. Groove Monster, $10. According to Robin Brown's book on the Rhodes Society, the Round Table philosophy was explicitly Fabian. Yeah. I think this information and research I've been reading is accurate. The Souls and Coefficients Club, yes. This includes Lord Milner, Amory, JBS Haldane, Garvin, Lord Gray, Lord Birkenau, etc. They were all in the Fabian Society. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Groove Monster. Robin Brown's book on the Rhodes Roundtable groups. Let me see. I might not have that one. Let me see. All right, written that down. Let's see. Groove Monster. Robin's book also talks about Eton College and the PDF group that was there. Yes, I'm aware of that. Lord Escher, as well as Lulu Harcourt and members of the royal elites and the royal family, all part of the Milner Cecil block that the inner circle was recruited from. Yeah, absolutely. They've all been a bunch of creep PDFs over there. Lord Mountbatten, Cyril Smith, like all of these MPs and they're just a nightmare. Saville. Onyx, $5. How much of the last Sam Hyde episode with Nick did you write? That was, I'm not sure, because there was 4 of us in there. And originally we thought that was going to be an episode that was partly interview and then Jordan Peterson. I don't mean Jordan Peterson on there, but they were going to discuss Jordan Peterson. So I wrote pretty significant sections of the Jordan Peterson part. I don't remember exactly how much I put under the Nick part. So probably more of that was Ryan Rivera and Brendan and Pat. I just don't remember. I think I wrote some parts of it though. But what ended up happening was I was focusing on the Peterson part, and then they had a lengthy conversation, and so they decided to just end that episode there and do the Peterson episode as a separate episode. Grubbs McGee, $5. Oh wait, he says, I was laughing thinking of the leather daddy jokes when I heard about the jacket. I don't think I put any leather daddy jokes in there. Grubbs McGee, $5. I'm pretty sure Seraphim Holland is out of the Campus Crusade. That's a priest, Father Seraphim Holland. Well, I don't think that everybody in see, this is what I was trying to say, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but if I critique Campus Crusade and say that it has Pentagon ties, that doesn't mean everybody in Campus Crusade is a bunch of feds or spies. It just means the organization is going to try to be used by the Pentagon for soft power. Let me give you an example. Do you remember Coney 2012? Okay, Coney 2012 was being pushed by the Pentagon as a kind of justification for operations in Africa. AFRICOM, right? Oh, we got to go find this warlord Coney. And nobody had even known if Coney was alive anymore, right? It was a pretty obvious kind of, Fed thing. Fake thing in the sense of like, the standard, Bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, Putin, Assad. We got to go do this stuff because of the villains in the other countries, which are usually bullshit justifications for, American companies and corporations to, loot, steal, etc. That doesn't mean there are no warlords or that everybody else in the other countries is good guys. It just means that they become just silly justifications for the, foreign policy stuff that the neocons typically want. And I remember on my university, there was this push, and all the Campus Crusade people were a part of it. They were pushing Coney 2012, and it's like, and they were, I kid you not, like they were all doing it because they were told to do it. And I'm like, well, do you even know if any of this is true? And it's like, well, we want to go over there to help the poor African kids for Jesus. And it's like, are you this stupid? Like you think that the Pentagon is really cares about like helping poor African kids? And but by the way, what does this have to do with evangelicalism? Oh, well, we want to also send missionaries. And so the people are sincere. They're just naive. And they don't understand soft power. They don't understand espionage and geopolitics. And this was all just bullshit. It was all a front for Pentagon stuff. And they had literally just like that co-opted and utilized Campus Crusade. But nobody at my university working for Campus Crusade was a spy or working for the CIA. They didn't know anything. They were idiots. And I say that because I was pretty aware of things even in 2012. I was aware of F. William Engdahl. I'd read Engdahl's books critiquing things like Campus Crusade and the use of NGOs and foundations and evangelicalism in other countries for geopolitical purposes. So I knew enough to know that this was fake. By the way, I went around and tore down all the Coney 2012 posters, by the way. That was me. So somebody in the middle of the night showed up on campus to tear down all of the Coney 2012 posters, which had appeared all over campus. And mysteriously, the next day they were gone. That was me. Well, I don't know if I did all of them because we had a big campus, but I tore down a lot of them. But because I was doing I was doing counter activism against these idiots who thought that this was all real. And there was this guy who ran it, Jason Russell, at the time. And this, weirdly enough, if you remember, this guy had a meltdown
a public meltdown, and he stripped naked at a restaurant in San Francisco or something, and ran out in the middle of the street naked. I don't know if he was doing shrooms or what happened to this dude, but it was the weirdest bunch of. I mean, the people pushing it. It was like the time that Glee was popular, and they would do these Glee routines. I'm not kidding. It was like the gayest thing ever. And because Alex was making fun of it at the time.
He looks gay, actually.
That's what this guy, Jason Russell, was trying to shed light on. And he had been trying for 9 years. And like he was trying to be a filmmaker. So he's like, I'm going to make this film. He put it out, and that's the one that in 2012 that went super viral. But, you know, like with anything, if you go super viral, you get some pushback. All the news stations picked up this story, and they started picking apart this guy. He became like a paparazzi target for a while.
And there's just no way he could have foreseen that happening.
And then he had a mental breakdown. It got way out of control, and like the truth got lost. And
so anyway, this got a mental breakdown. He lost it, stripped naked, ran out in the street, and that ended the whole Coney 2012 saga.
Well, isn't that all part of the Monarch plan anyways?
I mean, I don't think we even have to go into that, because I just think that they just chose this kind of like gay dude to be the face of, pseudo-Christian, help the other countries and take down the dictators and, give your money to this thing. And it was just so obviously fake. But anyway. I wonder whatever happened to that dude.
That's what I was just thinking. I wonder what... Don't you ever wonder, like, these people would, like, where are they now?
Yeah.
You actually got to... That would be a great...
Oh, wow. Here's the actual documentary. It has 3 million views. Dang. 100 million people watch this stupid thing. Here he is.
The surprise announcement came in a letter from the White House. The U.S. president's decision commits U.S. troops to help.
To advice and assistance.
Imagine getting all these evangelicals to support Obama's policies in Africa to try to find Coney. It's so fake. It's so stupid. But like evangelicals, man, they will believe anything, dude. And what's funny is that the people in the military and the Pentagon, they know how dumb evangelicals are, and they laugh about it. And they're like, well, these people believe anything. We just tell them that we're going to go save Africans from a warlord, and this becomes a cover for AFRICOM. People don't even know what AFRICOM is, but that's the Pentagon, the military, U.S. Army, etc. Their strategies for different regions. There's CENTCOM, NORTHCOM, AFRICOM, and this was just more, foreign policy. It's basically just a way to go get minerals and oil in.
I wonder if they have a DIRCOM too.
Probably, since I'm in the KGB. Yeah. Dire Clips on geopolitics, $5. We got to go in and get the bad guys that we armed. Yeah, I think that in the case of Coney, like the thing that everybody was saying at the time was criticizing it was nobody even knows this guy's alive anymore. So it's a really weak justification for foreign policy in Africa. Anyway, Jethro, $2. Jay, can you play the Aussie Nair Instagram post? Bro, I don't know where that is. I mean, if you link it for me, maybe. I can't scroll all the way back and I have no idea where it's months or years back, so I don't know where it is. Contemporary Compendium, $5. Jay, can we get a brand of the Ginger Chews? I mean, I think in America there's pretty much only one brand when you go anywhere. It's the Gin-Gins. Grubs, no wait, Anonymous, $3. Primary versus secondary causes. If God said, well, I think that guy called in. We already answered him. So, Ayo, $10. Look up Ridvan. He's definitely a heretic. I mean, we already commented on this at the beginning. Everyone's had enough of him. Well, like we said at the beginning, people aren't interested. They're not going to listen. Like, what are you going to do? Just keep arguing with them and keep calling? Like, might as well just move on. So that's, I think, the wisest strategy. Behind enemy lines. What's up, man? Behind enemy lines. Unmute.
Hey, Jay.
Hey.
I just had a quick question.
Yes, you had a stream the other day, and I think you quoted someone. If you want to be involved in espionage, it's cooks, bolts, and like crooks.
What?
You know who that quote was from? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Say it again. What about? Yeah, the quote's from me.
If you want to be involved in espionage, you have to be a kook, a crook, or something else.
A spook.
I can't remember.
The quote is me. It's my quote.
Oh, that's an original.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been saying that for like 10 years. And it's the same for alternative media, but it's just a joke. I don't literally mean every single person is, but Anastasios, what's up, man? Dude thought I was quoting a book. That's me, bro. Chalk.com. Remember, that is our sponsor. Head on over to chalk.com if you want to support the stream and use the promo code JAY40 to get 40% off. Also support your own health by those great Chalk products. Anastasios, what's up, man? Unmute.
Shut Jay. Hey, you taking questions on justification?
I guess.
All right, sweet. Been watching your videos for a while, and then in the Orthodox point of view, I keep hearing you say that justification is an ontological transformation, right? I just want to clarify that before we go.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, when I keep hearing this, I guess in my head, I've just never asked anyone to clarify this question. How can we be called justified if it's an ontological transformation? It's lifelong. Can't someone only call you justified at the end of your life? You can't really say that. You can't really say you are justified till the work is done, right?
No. Why would you think that?
Well, it would be a past tense. Like if I can't say something is finished if I'm still working on it.
Where are you saying that it's finished? We would say that justification is a past thing, an ongoing thing, and a future thing. It's all three. It's not a either or.
But then Paul says that you are justified, right? Like he says that.
Yeah, but there's also statements where he talks about justification in the future sense of vindication at the eschaton, and the eschaton hasn't happened yet. And Paul uses glorification in the same way. He says glorification is a present reality as well in 2 Corinthians 3.
Okay, sweet. That makes a lot more sense. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, those are great questions. Appreciate that. Yeah, just look up, we do have some longer talks on justification that you can find. What's up? And then Fuel My Fire. You've been waiting. Do you want to unmute?
Hey, what's up, Jay? Actually, I have a question.
Okay.
Just not to validate you this time.
Okay.
So, my wife is not into Orthodoxy at all.
Uh-huh.
We watched a live stream, and she just kept downplaying it and saying, "I was like, and whining." And I'm like, should I just go myself and just not bring her with me?
Yeah, I mean, I would say.
I want her to come.
Sure, right. Yeah, I think that. I mean, if she sees a change in you, then yeah, that's the way to go. So you should go ahead and go, and then pursue it, because you have care of your own soul first, and then, just be persistent and consistent, and then she'll come along eventually, usually. Dominic, what's up? Oh, hold on, I got more of these super chats I missed. In the Name of Faith, $3. Can you contend directly with the creationist assertion of the earth being 7,000 years old? I wouldn't contend with it. I think it probably is 7,000 to 10,000 years old. I think it's wrong to bring up metaphysics when not anyone is a debater. I think you mean not everyone is a debater. Well, why is it wrong to bring up metaphysics just because the person isn't a debater? I don't think Genesis is a scientific account. I don't think that either. And it's wrong to say that Orthodoxy is opposed to, I don't know, your comment gets cut off. So I don't know what else you had to say there. You might be the guy that called in and wasn't aware of philosophy of science and epistemology, even though you claimed to be aware of epistemology. So I don't know why you are the one that gets to tell us what is and isn't Orthodox views of creation. I'm going to go with St. Basil and the Hexameron and Father Seraphim Rose and Genesis, Creation, Early Man.
over what you think is the way to go. Jen's $3. What do we think of, what would our generation's martyrs look like? I have no idea. I mean, I think if we're faithful to the teachings of Christ and the church, we're all going to be martyrs in a way. I don't really get into trying to have this, breakdowns of all the prophecies of the elders, and I'm not dissing Kotel or Conrad or anybody that wants to pursue that at all. I just don't really go down that route. Brendan, $3. I hear that the Orthodox king or emperor would be part of the liturgy. Yeah, he's like a deacon. He's not literally a deacon, but he's a kind of diakonos. The church justifies the state. That puts it all together. I mean, again, in a healthy Christian society, yeah, but we're not going to storm Washington and, convert Donald Trump to being a Byzantine emperor and then force the country to be Handmaid's Tale or whatever these idiot liberals think. Freaky, $5. Is the Nephilim order of Metatron of the KGB what you're a part of? I guess. Also, the Yacubians. Or are they above the Yacubians but below the Teletubbies? Yes. So we might as well. It's a mask-off moment, and yes. Jacob Cabe, $5. Jay, I'm trying to show my dad the clip. Oh, we read that. Turbo, $10. What are good books on tag? I mean, if you're brand new, you said you're a slow boy, I would say something. I mean, I hate to recommend Protestants, but, Bonson's Always Ready, or Dr. Jason Lyle's book, Ultimate Proof. And then I would read Father Deacon Ananias's papers after that, because he can kind of correct a lot of the, Calvinist mistakes. But I think those guys are good to just kind of get an overall idea what the line of argument is. And Dr. Lyle's book actually has a really good section at the beginning on laws of logic and information theory, which is very helpful for tag. So there's some really good stuff in those books. JN, $10. I was raised Lutheran, but I'm new to you and the idea of apostolic succession. I hear that Catholics and Orthodox are close to the apostles and church fathers so that truth would be preserved. I'm not sure what you mean by close, because we believe that it's an actual historical succession. People are corrupt and go astray. What about the golden calf of Mount Sinai and Moses' wayward grandsons? Why would we trust something early as true? The argument is not that apostolic succession is early and therefore it's true. The argument is that Jesus instituted apostolic succession in the New Testament and the Gospels, and you can see it in Paul's epistles. So that's the argument. Also, Jesus promised that the Holy Spirit would lead, guide, and be with the church until the end of time, and he would not leave us as orphans, and that he would lead us and guide us into all truth. So Pentecost is something new, and that's why you can't compare Israel in the Old Testament pre-Pentecost to the empowering of the church post-Pentecost. That does not mean that every single bishop is indefectible. Any individual bishops or even sections of bishops or masses of bishops can apostatize, but there will always be true bishops maintaining the faith, even in times of mass apostasy like the 4th century, when the majority of the church was Arian and semi-Arian. So the Old Testament analogies are not understanding redemptive history, and that after Pentecost, we are in a new era. And
I just realized something, Jay. Well, the reason why they struggle with apostolic succession is they reject normative authority. So they don't have any kind of legal ecclesial system to actually bind. Of course, they're going to interpret apostolic succession as just useless and doesn't do anything, or not even understand it. Or what do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right about that's ultimately what's going on. But his specific question was about, well, hey, we see Israel going sour in the Old Testament. Why would I believe that the church is any different? Because the church is the church. It's not Israel. That's why Pentecost is so important. So really, Protestants are missing and don't understand Pentecost. And they don't understand the fact that you can't separate apostolic succession from the empowering of the church in Acts 2 and the promises that Jesus made that he would not leave the visible, historic, quote, Catholic Church. But yes, you're also right that
also they don't see the church as a divine human institution.
yeah, they see it as only human.
Yes, and so it's just all the believers, lowest common denominator.
Where the church is a theanthropic institution, exactly as Father Deacon said. It's a divine and human institution, meaning that if you only look at it from the human perspective, like Protestants do, it's divided and it's fallen away, and there's 30,000 different versions of it. Zach Inquirer, $3. What do you think about the idea of altarism? I don't know what that is. Adam's and Eve's world was separate from us, and the fall caused our evolutionary world. There was a priest that wrote an article on it in Athanasius. He vaguely mentions it. Never heard of it, and that would be outside of what you read in Basil's Hexameron or Father Seraphim Rose's Genesis, Creation, Early Man, or St. Simeon the New Theologian's First Created Man. I mean, all those texts pretty much are normative, so I have no idea what you're talking. I don't know what altarism is. God bless you, $3. Personally, I don't have anything against nationalism. Christianity existed without it under the imperial system before classical liberal nation states. Yeah, I'm well aware of modern nationalism arising from post-French Revolution, liberal economic theory nation states. I know all that. I'm just speaking for a common audience of people asking questions about a Christian state. But yes, the imperium and the pre-modern nation state being Christian is not the same thing as the post-Enlightenment nation state, but that's not even relevant to what we're talking about today. We're just talking about, can there be Christian nation states or Christian governments? JMail, $25. How do I move from an American right-centered ideology towards a Christ-centered view of the word or world? How do you do it? I mean, I would, again, if you read the Christian ethos of the first millennium, it is that. I'm trying to get my ideology out of Orthodoxy. I think you mean like your American conservative ideology to be Orthodox in your phronema and not an Americanist. I read Schmeemann's Eucharist. Yeah, that's not a good book. I mean, there's actually worse books by Schmeemann, but I mean, I wouldn't recommend Alexander Schmeemann if you're wanting to not have like an Americanist. I mean, I would say read Reflections of a Russian Statesman. There you go. Read that. That's a lot more hard-hitting and authentic than these weak OCA clerics. Jacob Cabe, $5. Jay, you whistle like an armpit poop patty, sir. I hear whistles in your voice. That's because I got refuted by the Indian Muslim. All right. Guys, get ahead of the line if you disagree. Dominic, what's up? Father Deacon, you missed the Mormon. Were you in here for that? You keep, every time you leave, the wild.
I heard you just eating dinner. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, I can hear you. What's up?
Okay. So recently baptized Orthodox Christian for about a year now, and I just have a couple questions about a couple things for you. Firstly, the reason for women veiling. When I first came to my church, they said, "Oh, it's something that married women do." Then I heard the Orthodox ethos talk about it, and he said that it's done to... I
mean, it's in Paul's epistles, so it's in Corinthians.
Okay, and so if I was to explain to somebody the reasoning for it, could you maybe do that for me? Like Paul's reasoning for it?
Well, if you read Corinthians, he says that it's a sign of submission to authority. So a woman veils her head, Paul says, because the angels are present in the liturgy, and the angels see who does and doesn't veil in the sense of being humble and submissive. So that's the way Paul describes it. I'm not sure what Father Hears says, but he probably says something along those lines. FDA, if you've heard anything different, feel free to enlighten me.
That's everything that I've heard.
No, my camera's not broken. I have a headache. What's up, man? I'm sorry, Father Dean. Go ahead.
No, that's it. I was just gonna say you merged. You've become chalk. That's actually what you look like now.
Well, I have to. Yeah. They're a paid sponsor, so I want to promote our sponsors, and also, but I also have like a splitting headache because it's either because of the ragweed, which is in the air, or it's because we have a huge storm front rolling in. The pressure is really intense right now.
Yeah.
What's up, man? Eco, you want to unmute?
Hey, yeah, I got a quick question. Well, twofold. Both are different. So I saw a quote by Leo the Deacon from the 10th century, and he stated, in August 16th in the year 6470, I thought that was pretty interesting because that's like 960 AD, which then I found out is like the Anno Mundi Byzantine calendar.
Yeah, so they use the Byzantine calendar.
Yeah. So this question really comes to, is there any reason to care a lot about the calendars? I mean, I know there's old calendarists. I don't fully understand that. Haven't really dived in. But what's your take on all that?
Yeah, the calendar does matter because that's that's how the Christian world dates things. So maybe I don't understand your question. What do you mean? Does the calendar matter?
I guess I don't understand the old calendarists versus new. It seems
that's a different issue. We have a Christian calendar because we're Christians and we live in a liturgical cycle that we believe reflects kind of the patterns of heaven. So that's why there is a calendar. The old calendar is a totally different issue, but I mean, the Rokor, for example, is on the old calendar. So that's a different issue from old calendar schismatic groups, some of which have been reconciled in terms of communion, some of which are still out of communion. But that's an area that I don't really have a whole lot of insight on. Owen, what's up, man?
Hey, Jay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry if I'm coming in late or whatever, but what is your opinion of nationalism and?
We've already covered all that, so I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not being rude. It's just I'm not going to repeat everything that we said in the first hour and a half. Trey, what's up, man? Looking for people who disagree. I don't mind answering people's catechumen questions and FAQs. Just remember, guys, that after a while it gets kind of old because most of that information you can easily find by just reading and searching some stuff on your own. Remember, you can get Orthodox Dogmatics by Pomazanski and read the book. When you come with a lot of the sort of FAQs, it's just kind of taken away from more pressing type of stuff. And I'm not trying to be rude. I understand everybody wants their questions answered, but a lot of that stuff you guys can find easily on your own. Like, there are infinite resources for FAQ Orthodox stuff these days. In 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, there wasn't that much, but nowadays there's an infinity of that. And you can also ask your priest and your catechist these questions. But what's up, man? I'm you, Trey.
You there?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, I hope I'm not asking a question you just asked us not to ask.
Well, what is it?
It is. I'm looking into a couple of churches near me, and I'm wondering your opinion. There's a St. Michael's, which I don't know what denomination or what version of it is, and then there's a Serbian and a Greek Orthodox. The Greek Orthodox doesn't have pews. I was wondering what your stance is on the pews.
Just go check them all out, man. Jimmy, what's up? Jan Naruto, what's up, man? Shout out to all of the Jake Rattlesnake people. We've had a wild ride today. We had a Scientism man that said he knew all about epistemology but didn't. We had a Mormon who didn't understand a circular argument. Jan Naruto, what's up, man? I'm mute.
Hey, what's up, Jay?
What's on your mind?
I was just kind of wondering, what do you think about this Ridvan?
We already talked about it, man.
Unhinged, Jewish.
We already talked about it today. So I covered Ridvan in the first hour. Okay, anybody disagree today, you go to the headline. So please, no questions about all the stuff that we've already covered. If you disagree, any topic, immediate headline. Blaine Sarchik, $20. Jake made me give you money. Oh, Jake Rattle. I was like, Jake the Muslim metaphysician? I doubt that. You mean Jake Rattlesnake? Well, thanks, man. Appreciate that from Jake. Underwater, what's up?
Hello.
Yeah, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I have this verse that I feel like, I'm not sure if it's literal or if it's just necessarily talking about something else. In 1 Timothy 2:15.
Okay, let me pull that up. Nevertheless, women will be saved through childbearing if they continue in faith, love, and holiness with self-control.
Yeah, what is the childbearing thing? That's the part that I'm...
It means having babies. What do you mean?
So it's being literal?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Paul is writing an epistle about practical problems at the church of Ephesus to Timothy. He's not going to allegorize in a moral instruction section about what the role of women is when he's talking about Adam and Eve, and that the role of women is primarily to be mothers. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that women can't be single and enter into, monastic life. Paul also talks about that. It doesn't mean, obviously, that if you don't have a baby, you're not saved. I mean, that's all kind of, I'm not saying you're saying that, but obviously we wouldn't come to absurd conclusions when he's just kind of giving practical advice that the role of women is not to become priests, pastors, teachers, it's to be mothers in general. Do you want to try again?
Yo, Jay.
Uh-huh.
So I had a question in regards to, like, in general, what you think about, I know you don't want to be asked these questions, but Antiochian church versus Roquefort and just the different, divisions.
They're not divisions, they're jurisdictions.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, so just go check out the one that's best for you. There's not going to be a perfect jurisdiction. All right, if you disagree, you go ahead of the line. Raise your hand if you disagree, and I'll bring you on. Not interested in talking to you, guy from the Oriental sphere. Every time we have this discussion, doesn't go anywhere, so I'm not interested. But thank you for coming on. Eco, what's up, man?
Hey, Jay.
Yep.
Back. What is your opinion on Nick Fuentes? I'm sorry.
We already covered all that earlier today, so. Guys, come on. I'm not trying to be rude. It's just like all the stuff listed, I covered in the first and second hour. So if you just tuned in, that's cool. I'm not mad, but all that stuff, I'm not going to redo all that stuff.
Hey, Jay, what's your take on apostate prophet?
Yeah, let's just rehearse the entire first 2 hours, and then we'll just start all over again after that, and do it for the third time, the first 2 hours of the chat. But. So if you're watching on YouTube, guys, you can rewind and go,
Rewind it.
Yeah.
Be kind and rewind.
That was a good movie, by the way. If you've never seen it. It's a Jack Black comedy. It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, Jay, I've seen every movie.
I know you have.
Yeah.
But you're really good at Brokeback Mountain, right? That's like the one that you. I know that Blu-ray is on repeat at your house.
Guys, anybody else in the chat? We got 1,000 people over here, and we had a lot of smack talkers in the chat, and not really any of them except one or two called in today. So where are all the chat talkers? Dominic, what's up, man? What's your take on Doug Wilson? That's literally the first hour was Doug Wilson.
This is so hilarious.
I know, right? What's up, man? Dominic, you want to unmute?
So sorry.
It's okay.
So again, on the point of veiling. So
of what
is it on the point of women veiling? Is this a practice that is really? What happens if you don't do it? I guess is my main question.
Well, I mean, some of the jurisdictions don't really enforce it. It's a move away from it from tradition, unfortunately. But I mean, I don't think you're necessarily going to get in trouble unless you're, being defiant. For being defiant's sake, that would be a sin. So, it matters just like pews, but they're not the most important things. Derek, what's up? Veiling, women wearing veils. This is the guy asking the question about veils. What's up, man? Derek, I'm you.
Oh, hey, Jay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have a question about Father Thomas Hopko. So I attended a OCA church recently.
Mhm.
It's the only Orthodox church that's around me. And they recommended him as good reading for first time learning about Orthodoxy. What's your take on him?
I've not read a lot of his stuff. I read a little bit here and there. I think that there was a couple errors where he kind of theologically missed. Doesn't mean I'm calling him a heretic. And a lot of people find him good for kind of introductory catechesis type stuff. I would recommend the other Orthodox theologians like Losky and Larche and Florovsky and Meyendorff and people like that, and Pomazansky's Orthodox Dogmatic Theology. I think those are more beefier, better theological books. But I mean, probably for introductory catechesis, it's fine.
Okay. I was just wondering what your opinion on him was.
Yeah, I think he said something a little odd about one aspect of, I can't remember if it's Christology or something about something, but I mean, Timothy Ware as well. Tim Ware was actually worse, but I tend to avoid those two. Again, I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying I think there's better theologians. All right, it's open forum. If you disagree, raise your hand. We got still quite a few people over here, 56 listening, and nobody's really disagreeing. I'm not doing FAQ, but so appreciate your requests. I'm not doing your FAQs. So we've done a lot of FAQ stuff. Theodore, what's up, man?
Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Is my sound okay?
Yeah.
So, Jay, you posit God as grounding for metaphysics, logic, rationality, and knowledge. And obviously you believe that he also created the world, so everything comes forth from him. Would that not make you a foundationalist and not a coherentist?
No, that has nothing to do with...
And nobody says, where is this coming from that we're coherentists? Like...
I believe I heard it in one of the videos explaining tag that the reason circularity is okay.
No, nobody over here has ever said I'm a coherentist and not a foundationalist.
And just because you say, like, you want things to cohere logically, make you a coherentist. Just because we say that our foundation is God, doesn't make us foundationalists.
Exactly.
Like, so that's a fallacy of equivocation. That, well, if I hear the word, then that word has the same meaning in every case, and you must subscribe to. That's not the case.
Yes, coherence theory is another form of foundationalism. It just makes every belief foundational, and it's also a secular epistemology. So when I say that, I might have said in the past something like, my approach to worldviews is
more like coherence in the sense of it being a web of beliefs, but that's not me saying I am an epistemic coherentist. 5G, what's up? Unmute.
I just wanted to say, what the fuck is up with everyone asking the same damn question, man? That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
Doom, what's up, man? Doom. Owen, I'm only taking people that disagree, so I'm not taking your FAQ.
Why are there like so many different Orthodox?
I literally just said I'm not taking FAQ questions, and that's what you come with. Anyone disagree? Go to the headline. Hit request to speak. This guy had a really good video, by the way. And actually, I've watched a few of his videos. They're pretty funny. And they're pretty good. He did one on, where's it at? Midwit fatigue. I thought this really struck a chord with me. So check this video out if you're also. And I think tonight's stream, a couple of the people are making me vibe with this because I also have midwit fatigue from a lot of the callers. And one of the things that he points out that's very illustrative is the way that people of midwit IQ understand language. And it's something that we keep harping on. We saw this the other night when we were looking at Jordan Maxwell's comments on his conspiracy theories, the video I played of the schizo nonsense about reading into words and coming up with new meanings because it's the same phonetic sounds. And that, you know, soul dear, that's a soul dyer, soul dear, soul dyer. Like, no, that's schizo, dude. And likewise, midwits, although not as insane as the sort of schizo conspiracy theory approach to language, they do the same thing when topics are being discussed and they automatically assume everything to be literal or that language is just sort of flat, like it doesn't have nuance to it. So for example, if I say, I don't know, something about black crime statistics, and you point out the averages, the norms, the standards, and then you get the know-it-all midwit who has to tell you, well, actually, there's an exception to this. It's like, yeah, generalities all have exceptions. Okay, that doesn't negate the generality or the universal rule. Well, a sort of a midwit attitude is somebody who always has to sort of demonstrate that they're smart or they think they're smart. So they chime in with things that kind of everybody already knows or aren't even what's being discussed. So I thought this was a really good take. And this young dude here, he's also got a lot of good takes on boomers as well. People that don't have interior monologues, which is pretty wild. So I didn't realize it was this high of a percentile. He says that supposedly, and I'm not sure how you gauge this, but if this is true,
like 70,
30 to 50% of people don't have an inner monologue.
Yeah, it's only
That's really
7.
weird.
Yeah, percent of people have.
What do you think? Do you think that everybody potentially has that, but they're maybe damaged through toxic culture, stabbies, foods, diets, like internet?
Yeah,
I mean,
Hotel and I did a stream.
Oh, you guys did? That's right, you did. I forgot about that.
A year ago, because I noticed. Yeah, first of all, I couldn't even believe it. And I had a hard time. I'm like, oh, well, maybe the people weren't understanding the question correctly. And I went into the research. And it kind of shows how they were able to figure this out. But what really was amazing is that it matches almost identical to the same amount of the percentage of people who lack introspection and self-aware. And I'm like, so in the end of the day, and the end of the stream, my conclusions basically, I think there's multiple factors, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But I think the way that we process information, especially on through social media and stuff like this, and just some of these theories too, like in advertisement, social media that got that popular, is a behaviorist model. It's input, right? Output,
right?
So with the behaviorist, they're rejecting that there was any kind of to have the thought it's raining is not a private, subjective experience within your that can't be accessed. Unless I put into external words. The behaviorist basically says there is no thought inside your head. It's just behavior, dispositions of behavior. So that the idea that to have a belief that it's raining is simply, if it's raining, then you have a tendency to do certain things like close the window and that's all it is. But I started thinking about that. I'm like, isn't that our whole society? We kind of train people to do this, just process and regurgitate information, right? And faster. Then I'm like, I would expect that you would see people lack introspection, because some level of introspection and awareness, attentiveness to thought, is required to have an inner monologue. So to me, it kind of makes sense given the way that we process information through media and stuff like this, and just the educational system too, that I'm like, yeah, I actually now would expect that. Now add on polypharmacy and bad, food and all the other stuff too. I'm like, I'm sure that just exacerbates the problem.
Have you talked about Whitney Webb's book? Of course, yeah, I've done probably, counting YouTube streams and everything, probably 10. But obviously the 4th hour of Lord V is not on YouTube, so you have to go to X to find those, and I frequently share all of my 4th hours on X. Anybody else disagree? It's interesting. So we don't really have anybody disagreeing.
We need some pagans on here. What happened to...
They used to come, and they were remember that the last pagan that I had was actually, that I remember, he was the guy that was actually sacrificing animals. I'm not kidding, and was kind of like into, like, he was taking it serious. He was like, I'm a Norse pagan, but I'm also interested in Satanism. I've actually been doing, I'm not kidding, like and I think he was being serious, and that kind of weirded me out a little bit, but. So I was going to promote this, but it looks like the Ludwell conference is sold out. So if you were planning on going, it looks like it's too late. This year is sold out. So anyway, but we will have our conference with Father Deacon, Father Vladimir, Bishop Jonah, and others. I just have not made the Eventbrite page. I was planning to make that today, but there's an issue with Eventbrite that I'm trying to work through right now. So hopefully I'll have that up tomorrow. You can also follow me over here on X, and if anybody disagrees, you go to the head of the line. The call-in is done through Twitter. You can call in right here. You can debate. You can make an argument. You can have, if you want a set amount of time, you want 30 seconds, 60 seconds, feel free to do so. I can't guarantee that you won't get made fun of or that I won't interrupt you, because it depends on how you do it. If you actually make arguments, we'll listen. If we laugh at you or snicker, it's probably because you're not making arguments. It's not because we're mean and we're scared of you. Although I know you want to believe that we're intimidated and scared of you. It's probably not that. Anybody else? I don't see anybody. Well, guys, remember, head on over to chalk.com. Use promo code J40 to get 40% off, or JY44LIFE to get 44% off all those great products. Follow me on Twitter. And you can order Esoteric Hollywood 3. I did get an email from the publisher. It looks like it's moving forward. I don't have an exact date, but it will be pretty soon because all the revisions are complete, and the publisher said he's moving forward. Okay, CK, what's up? Last chance. CK, anybody else?
Yo, what's up, Jay?
What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, man? So I was debating, and I want to call him a pagan, mainly just an atheist, but he was he made an interesting argument, and I'm not too experienced with actually getting into the weeds of debating tag or really just even interacting with a lot of atheists. But I think he kind of got me tripped up on one point. But he was trying to disprove God through essentially him not intervening. So, for example, he gave an example that if God were to exist, why doesn't he operate on the same moral scale that he gives Christians? So if there was a grape, why does God not do what is right or what is good? I don't know if you've heard anything along that line of argumentation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a variation on the problem of evil, where it's like, why doesn't God intervene to do, to rid? Basically, it's just a version of problem of evil. Father Deacon, would you want to comment on that? How would you answer the problem of evil?
Yeah, so I always just go back to St. Augustine. Obviously this argument critique existed all the way back, in the 5th century, probably earlier. And St. Augustine says, so there's two issues. Is it a logical problem that negates the existence of God? Or is it just a general problem that it's like, I don't know why he would allow that? Those are two different issues. So there's all kinds of stuff in life that I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why that's not an argument against something. It just means, or, even when, let's say parents did something and I didn't like it, that doesn't mean that it's not right or anything. So we have to separate it from the logical issue. Is it logically impossible to be an omnibenevolent, omniscient, omnipotent God and evil exist? Because the three attributes couldn't coexist with evil, because an all-powerful God who knows how and wants to is omnibenevolent wouldn't allow that. Augustine basically says, well, as long as he could bring about a greater good, is it logically possible? That's what you got to do. Is it logically possible that God, by allowing something very terrible to happen rather than preventing it, could bring about a greater good? Now, that puts somebody in a really interesting situation, because if they say, well, no, well, then you have to show how it's logic, how God logically couldn't do that. And that's impossible. So notice what's interesting. What's the opposite of, if you're saying it's impossible that God does this, all I have to do is conceive of, is it possible? Because that's the negation. If it's possible, there's no objection. Does that make sense? So I can say, but I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff in my life where I don't know why that bad thing happened. And then later I find out and saw God working. Oh, he really did bring a greater good out of. And that's part of theosis and the spiritual journey. So you have to understand that the atheist, it's not an intellectual issue. They have vices and spiritual issues that actually blind them to intellectual issues. Does that make sense? So they can't conceive of how this is possible because they're spiritually depraved. That's why the process of theosis and joining with God, things begin to become revealed. The things that you thought were irredeemable, you learn through a journey with God and growing that it's like, I get it now. Now think about this. Parents do this stuff all the time. If we can bring about greater goods through evils, then so much so for God. That's enough to destroy the atheist argument on that it's logically impossible that God could allow that, and be like, no, is it possible? Yes, then your argument that it's impossible is negated. Does that make sense?
That's a good answer. I want to remind everybody too, I don't mean to change the subject, but when we first started, there was a caller who said, do you think we'll see new all-time high in the midst of this live stream? I said, probably. It looks like, according to a couple of websites, we did just break all-time high. Yeah. So props to all you Bitcoin boys and girls, all the haters.
are chewing on tomatoes because we're vindicated. Now, if you want to get started with Bitcoin, I have a promo link for Swan Bitcoin. It's a Bitcoin only company, and that means that it's not an exchange where you trade the coins and bet and this and that. It's just essentially to buy and then transfer Bitcoin to your cold storage wallet. So Swan is a Bitcoin only company. It's not a quote crypto company. If you want to go get involved in all the other cryptos, you can. That's up to you if you want to. But it's basically just betting. I do not view Bitcoin as betting. Bitcoin is not even, in my view, an investment. It's more so the future of money. So if you'd like to get started, there's the Swan link. I do not support Ripple, so sorry, Trevor. I'm not a big fan of XRP, but I do support Bitcoin, and I think it is the future of money. You can get started in that link right there. Remember that if you do get started, it will take a while before you transfer it off. I'm not sure why, but Swan does make you wait a few weeks. But that's just probably because of the older system of like ACH payments and settlements. So CK says for $20, thank you, Father Deacon Ananias, for that explanation. Here's a little orange super chat for that Bitcoin all-time high. We are very early still. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to address that because everybody, of course, asked me, oh, Jay, is it too late for Bitcoin? Well, it really just depends on your time horizon, because if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to hop in and hop out, that's not the way I view it. In fact, we just went up again. I view this as more like, and this is for most people, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm not a registered financial advisor, but I view this as like the way that people treat savings account. So the safest, easiest way, if you're not super into this, or you're not going to be staring at charts all day, it's more like, rather than a savings account or rather than this or that, you could view it as this. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not your registered financial. This is just what I do. This is what I do. You can do whatever you want, and don't listen to me, because this is entertainment, and I'm a clown man. I'm a clown man. But thank you for that, CK. I will be giving some of the super chats to FDA for chiming in and for donating his wisdoms. So, yeah, there's not really any like, if you understand what Bitcoin is, and by the way, we'll be doing part 2 of Scientism's Bitcoin standard book in the next few days. So, as you guys know, the part 1 is up. If you're interested in learning more about Bitcoin, you can watch my interview with Jordan Bush, who wrote Thank God for Bitcoin. And you can watch, the other day we did, where was it at? The first half of Scientism's book. And then the second half will be for members. So if you want to get access to the members talk, that will be in the next few days. And we'll do the members talk right here. Here's part 1, Bitcoin Standard. We got into socialism. We got into the history of money, which is basically the first half of Scientism's book, and kind of the basics of Austrian economic theory right there. If you want to get a refresher there, if you want to learn more about what Bitcoin is and it being the future of money and the ultimate store of value, there you are. And we just hit a new all-time high today. I would imagine, I don't know, but I'm guessing we're probably going to go to 150, 200 before this cycle ends. And I don't expect that we're going to see 50, 60, 70,000 again. I think we're past that. I could be wrong. We could have a big crash. Who knows? But I just don't think we're ever going to see these like 80, 90% crashes again. I think we're done. We've moved into a new era where you have governments, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 are about to step in. 401ks are coming in. Trump changed all that. So we're at a new period, and we're vindicated, by the way. So this is, 8 years, going on 9 years of Bitcoin. And so the question is, are we too late? Well, only if you have a short time horizon would you think we're too late, because I believe that we are eventually going to go to 500,000 and to 1 million.
And that would probably, my guess would be, because we usually do a 10x every 4 to 5 years. It could be a little longer to go from 100 to 1 million. So it might be 5 or 6 years. But again, there's a recent paper that was put out from Simply Bitcoin, a new model showing a likelihood of 10 million in 6 years. So that's very bullish. Not saying it's going to happen. And this model is 20 million in 10 years. Very possible. Very possible. Not 100%. It might be 6 years and we're at 2 million. Right? Might be 10 years and we're at 5 million. We don't know. Because there's all kinds of factors, macro factors, wars, economic collapse. Any of these things might conceivably affect these time frames. But there is, I think, a possibility of at least $1 million Bitcoin in 5 years. Maybe even some of these more bullish cases. Who knows? But God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. A lot of fun. I ate my ginger chew and I calmed down. So I apologize to the people that were early in the stream and I was a little spicy. Forgive me for being a little testy. My diabetes was acting up. I'm joking, by the way. But I do get a little hangry and a little sassy. That's why I had to have my ginger chew. So if you don't want me to be mean to you, you got to call in after I've had my ginger chew. Otherwise, everybody have a good night, baby.